Chapter 933. Luo Luo, hurry up and cultivate. Once you reach the peak of the Ninth Supreme, we will go to the Holy Land. Yi Xian said to Luo Luo. Okay. Luo Luo also understood why Yi Xian wanted to go to the Holy Land. Moreover, with their strength, they were almost invincible in the Blood Cliff continent. Therefore they had to go to a higher place. However, Luo Luo was only at the early Ninth Supreme level. If she wanted to reach the peak of the Ninth Supreme level, she would need at least a month. This was a conservative estimate. Now that everything was settled, Yi Xian and Luo Luo could go into seclusion. Their clone could also go back to the Eastern continent to visit and report their safety. Yi Xian stayed in the retired emperor's palace. In the following time, he kept looking at the progress bar in his mind. After an hour, the progress bar only increased by 1%. It seemed that it would take more than 4 days for the devouring system to finish upgrading. There were still many good things in the retired emperor's yin and yang ring, but they were not enough for Yi Xian to break through, so Yi Xian gave them all to Luo Luo. Luo Luo had the effect of the beast god bloodline. Her cultivation speed was as fast as a rocket. She cultivated for a day, which was equivalent to cultivating for more than 10 days. Very quickly, 4 days passed. Soon, the devouring system will finish upgrading soon. In a corner of the royal sacred dynasty, Yi Xian sat on the ground anxiously. At this time, the progress bar in his mind had already reached 99%. Just a little more and the devouring system would finish upgrading. Half an hour later. Ding! The devouring system has been upgraded. Ding! The sword god bloodline has been upgraded. Ding! The beast god bloodline has been upgraded. Ding! The tree of life bloodline has been upgraded. Ding! The Gemini bloodline has been upgraded. Ding! The Heavenly Eye clan bloodline has been upgraded. The continuous notifications almost made Yi Xian faint. The devouring system had been upgraded. Not only that, it had also upgraded all 5 of his bloodlines. After the upgrade, the perception of the sword god bloodline was increased by 60%, and the power of the sword skills was also increased by 60%. His beast god bloodline strength increased to 4, agility increased to 8, monster growth speed, monster attribute, and monster expansion all increased to 4, Beast King's deterrence and devour increased to 5, and even Beast King's rage, which he hadn't used for a long time, increased to 6. In the virtual god realm, one had to rely on ultimacy, territory, and emperor's will. In the supreme realm, one had to rely on sword will and sovereign golden body. Hence, the Beast King's rage was of little use. However, if he reached the 3 lesser disasters of the supreme martial artist, then the Beast King's rampage should be able to be used as a trump card again. The human body disaster of the 3 sovereign disasters mainly focused on increasing one's physique. Thus, the Beast King rampage could be put to good use again. The Beast God bloodline had improved the most, and the Tree of Life bloodline's recovery speed and detoxification ability had also improved by 3 times. The Heavenly Eye God race had used the Devour points to upgrade twice. In addition to the Devour points given to him by the system this time, he had already upgraded to 4. But next, it was time for the main event. Ding! Refining the second doppelganger. After hearing this notification, Yi Xian's body fiercely trembled. Second doppelganger? Previously, he had used the twin fruits to refine his first doppelganger. But now, with the system's upgrade, the advancement path that originally required 5 advancement points to upgrade had actually been upgraded once. Haha, a second doppelganger. Now I have 3 lives. Yi Xian's heart was already bursting with joy. His original body, first doppelganger, and second doppelganger were equivalent to having 3 lives. Not only that, but even the advancement path of combining doppelganger had been upgraded. Double combination increases my strength by 20%. Triple combination increases my strength by 30%? Unknowingly, Yi Xian's strength had increased by quite a bit. If his original body, first doppelganger, and second doppelganger were to combine, then his strength would directly increase by 30%. Good, this is really good. From now on, I will leave 1 doppelganger in the Eastern continent to accompany my family, while my original body and the other doppelganger will go out and explore. Yi Xian immediately made his decision. Although 10% of his strength was not bad, he still needed to take care of his family and friends. Leaving 1 doppelganger in the Eastern continent was not only to accompany his family, but also to leave himself a way out. In the future, if his original body and first doppelganger were to die, then the second doppelganger would be his original body. At least he would not die. Ding! The second doppelganger has been successfully refined. The system notified. Yi Xian immediately summoned his second doppelganger. It doesn't matter whether the first doppelganger or the second doppelganger. The one going to the eastern continent will be the second doppelganger. Yi Xian directly listed the second doppelganger as his first doppelganger. Ding! The twin bloodline has been successfully connected. The system notified again. This time, Yi Xian was completely confused. What did the twin bloodline have been successfully connected mean? But in the next moment he understood. After the twin bloodline had been successfully connected, then in the future, when his original body devoured heaven and earth treasures, his doppelganger would also benefit and increase his cultivation base. In other words, even if Yi Xian devoured heaven and earth treasures now, his second doppelganger, who was on his way to the eastern continent, would also increase his cultivation base. Simply put, the three doppelganger would share the same data. If one of them was to increase his cultivation base, the other two would be updated from time to time. Haha, this is going to be awesome. Yi Xian was already grinning from ear to ear. The upgraded system had brought him too many surprises. In the future, even if his doppelganger worked separately, he would be able to devour heaven and earth treasures directly without saving them for his original body. If his original body comprehended sword force, then the other two doppelganger would be able to use sword force even if they did not merge. This was the bloodline connection. The bloodline upgrade was completed, but the system notification continued. Ding! The exchange system has been upgraded. Ding! The forging system has been upgraded. Ding! The treasure system has been upgraded. Ding! The mission system has been activated. Ding! The treasure system has been activated. After 5 consecutive notifications, Yi Xian could not help but check the upgraded system. Originally, the exchange system was useless in the Tianshui continent. It could only be used to exchange for some small items, such as equipment, which had to be forged by oneself. However, now that the exchange system had been upgraded, one could directly exchange for supreme divine weapons and supreme spiritual treasures. Previously, the currency was devouring crystals. Now, there was a new currency called super devouring crystals because of the new system. However, with Yi Xian's wealth, he couldn't even afford a single supreme spirit treasure. Originally, the forging system could forge weapons and armors as long as one had a forging blueprint. Now, after the upgrade, there were more tricks. For example, weapons could be tempered with mystical fire, and could be strengthened to create resonance sets. The resonance set was a set of equipment that would be much more powerful than before. Currently, Yi Xian could forge the divine sword set, divine beast set, and so on. However, there was a set called the glorious set, which attracted Yi Xian's attention. These sets appeared according to the bloodline. The divine sword set and divine beast set naturally corresponded to the divine sword bloodline and divine beast bloodline. However, the glorious set was the set of the Heavenly Eye clan's glorious eye. The glorious eye was a very powerful heavenly eye. After using it, one's chi would turn golden, and one would temporarily learn various powerful skills. The glorious set was used to complement the glorious eye, and could greatly enhance the glorious eye's effect. Unfortunately, Yi Xian had never heard of the materials for these sets. It was not that he was ignorant but that they were too rare. Next was the treasure system. Yi Xian's divine beast bloodline could allow Yi Xian to have several treasure sets, but he felt that they were useless. His first treasure set was called Megatron, but it was burned to ashes by Jiang Tianjin's inextinguishable inferno. Chapter 934. After the upgrade, he could now level up the monster. However, the level up required devour points, which were the original advancement points. It could also be considered as the corpse of a devouring beast. However, when Yi Xian saw the new function of the upgrade, his body trembled. Resurrection. The reincarnation system had an additional resurrection function. Heavens, it can actually resurrect a monster. Yi Xian opened his eyes wide and quickly glanced at the panel. He noticed that the first monster, Wei Zhentian, could be resurrected. Ding! As the system has been upgraded, the system host has one chance to resurrect a monster. The system notified. Hearing this, Yi Xian was so excited that he wanted to kiss it. He never expected that he would be given a chance to resurrect a monster. Young master, You're almost drooling from your smile. Luo Luo suddenly appeared. Looking at Yi Xian's expression, she could not help but ridicule him. Haha, Luo Luo, come and meet your companion. Yi Xian suddenly laughed. In the next moment, he used the chance to resurrect a monster. Ding! Wei Zhentian's resurrection is successful. When the notification sounded, a fist-sized green stone appeared on Yi Xian's shoulder. Ba Ji! At this moment, the small stone suddenly jumped and extended its mini arms and legs. Wei Zhentian, long time no see. Yi Xian was so moved that he was about to cry. Back then, in the Shangqing Palace, he was not strong enough. In order to protect him, Wei Zhentian was burned to death by Wei Zhentian's inextinguishable flames. Now it was finally resurrected. Wei Zhentian happily hugged Yi Xian's face and intimately rubbed against it. Here, I'll give you something to eat. Yi Xian took out an ore from his universe ring. Wei Zhentian did not say anything and directly swallowed it. Back then, Wei Zhentian was only a divine beast at the spirit stage. However, after swallowing this ore, its level rapidly increased. Spirit stage. Void God stage. Void God stage King. Void God stage Emperor. Sovereign Sacred Beast. In just a few breaths' time, Wei Zhentian had become a supreme sacred beast. After all, this ore was a material that could be used to forge a high-grade supreme divine weapon. A single piece of ore was enough for Wei Zhentian to reach the 6th grade supreme divine beast level. One had to know that the beast god bloodline had a 40% increase in monster growth. However, one piece was not enough for Wei Zhentian. I'll give you all the ores, but not this blood rock. Yi Xian took out all the ores so that Wei Zhentian could eat his fill. Yi Xian also noticed that after reviving, Wei Zhentian's speed of refining ores wasn't just a little bit faster. Could it be that something strange had happened? He glanced at the interface and realized that Wei Zhentian was no longer an earth spirit. Instead, he was called Earth Monarch. Sure enough, there was a change. However, Wei Zhentian's mutation did not cause the beast god bloodline to mutate like Luo Luo did. Soon, Wei Zhentian had swallowed all the ores. After transforming from an earth spirit to an earth monarch, his refining speed was shockingly fast. In just a few breaths' time, he had become a 8th grade supreme sacred beast. What a cute rock. Young master, what is it? Luo Luo grabbed Wei Zhentian. Yi Xian quickly explained. Earth monarch? I never thought that an earth spirit could mutate. Can it fight? Luo Luo asked curiously. Before Yi Xian could speak, Wei Zhentian, who had fallen into Luo Luo's hand, suddenly turned into a small storm and rapidly expanded. Then, it turned into a green heavenly dragon. Roar! Wei Zhentian roared at the sky. Wow, it looks so powerful. Luo Luo's beautiful eyes were wide open. She also wished that she could have such an ability. Unfortunately, she was only a 3-tailed fox. After the monster system is upgraded, I can still upgrade monsters. However, it requires a lot of devour points. Where am I supposed to find a devourer monster? Yi Xian was helpless. Wei Zhentian's mutation should be an upgrade from an earth spirit to an earth monarch. However, after Luo Luo's mutation, the monster system panel showed a question mark. It was obvious that Luo Luo's bloodline was much more noble than Wei Zhentian's earth monarch. While Wei Zhentian and Luo Luo were playing, Yi Xian placed his attention on the newly activated mission system and treasure system. The mission system was similar to the training hall in the sect. As long as one completed the mission, one would be able to obtain some benefits. Some rewards could not be bought through the exchange system. However, the normal mission rewards were naturally not that good. Other than the normal missions, there was also a type of random mission. This type of random mission could only be triggered under certain circumstances. After completing it, the rewards would be very generous. Random mission can possibly reward devour points? Yi Xian's eyes lit up. The original devour system was called advancement points. It could only be used to upgrade bloodlines. After the upgrade, it was called devour points. Other than upgrading bloodlines, it could also be used to exchange for items and upgrade monsters. Yi Xian did not expect that he would be able to directly complete the random mission and obtain devour points. This was awesome. However, the random mission only had a few lines of explanation. It did not say where or how to trigger it. It was considered a random encounter. As for the newly activated treasure system, Yi Xian did not know much about it. He quickly took a look. Ding! The host can now refine the treasure Sky Quake sword. The treasure material is the Shadowless sword. With Wei Zhentian as the weapon spirit, the compatibility is 100%. Do you want to refine it? When Yi Xian looked over, the system notification sounded. With Wei Zhentian as the weapon spirit? Yi Xian was stunned. He quickly looked at the system's explanation. The treasure system required a weapon spirit and a weapon spirit. The weapon spirit could be a weapon or something else. As for the weapon spirit, it must be something with self-consciousness. For example, Wei Zhentian. The treasure can be strengthened without limit. As long as the host does not die, the treasure will not be destroyed? After Yi Xian finished reading, he could not help but swallow his saliva. Unlimited strengthening meant that the treasure could grow like Wei Zhentian. However, as long as the host did not die, the treasure would not be destroyed. If I let Wei Zhentian be the weapon spirit, as long as my 3 bodies do not die, Wei Zhentian will not die? That was Yi Xian's understanding. At that moment, Yi Xian called Wei Zhentian over and asked about it. The master and the weapon spirit were telepathic. Although Wei Zhentian could not speak, it agreed. Okay, then I will refine you into a treasure. Yi Xian nodded and kept Wei Zhentian. Ding! Begin refining treasure. Ding! The treasure Sky Quake sword has been successfully refined. Chapter 935. The Sky Quake sword was a light green longsword. Its body was translucent and emitted a faint green light. It was similar to the Wind Dragon Slash that Yi Xian once obtained. Without waiting for Yi Xian to speak, the Sky Quake sword suddenly disintegrated and turned into a green rock. Wei Zhentian. Haha, I've refined Wei Zhentian into a sword. Yi Xian looked at Wei Zhentian in his hand and with a thought, he turned it back into the Sky Quake sword. The Sky Quake sword was now Yi Xian's treasure. As long as Yi Xian didn't die, Wei Zhentian wouldn't die and could be considered invincible. Yi Xian quickly glanced at the panel and discovered that Wei Zhentian's realm had been forcefully raised to a transcendent sacred beast. After all, the Sky Quake sword's material, the Shadowless sword, was a supreme spiritual treasure. From now on, Yi Xian could use ores and other items to strengthen the Sky Quake sword. At the same time, Wei Zhentian's realm would also increase. After forging Wei Zhentian into the Heaven-Shaking sword, Yi Xian discovered that there was actually another skill in the Heaven-Shaking sword. 10,000 swords return to origin. This 10,000 swords return to origin could only be used once a day. It seemed to be a very powerful skill. However, although the name was 10,000 swords, there were only 100 swords. Immediately, Yi Xian stood up and threw the Sky Quake sword in his hand. 10,000 swords returned to origin. In an instant, the Sky Quake sword split into 100 Sky Quake swords and danced in the air like lightning. If there was an enemy inside, they would be instantly shredded into pieces. If I had used this move when I was fighting against the retired emperor, I'm afraid he would have been shredded into pieces by the 10,000 swords returned to origin. Yi Xian looked at the 100 Sky Quake swords dancing in the air and thought again. Spiritual sword array. In the next moment, the 100 Sky Quake swords circling in the air above the palace quickly enlarged and turned into giant swords. Bang! 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 One by one, enormous swords that shook the heavens suddenly descended and pierced into the surroundings of Yi Xian. Over 100 enormous swords that shook the heavens directly surrounded Yi Xian, leaving no room for escape. This was the spiritual sword array, a defensive technique. Yi Xian looked around at the spiritual sword array that not even an ant could enter. He immediately clapped and cheered. Very good. Wei Zhentian, return to your original form. Yi Xian was very satisfied. Immediately, the heaven-shaking giant swords disappeared one by one, leaving behind only the heaven-shaking sword. Next, the Skyquake sword transformed again. Following Wei Zhentian's will, it transformed into a green pony. Young master, you're so powerful now. If you were this powerful a few days ago, we wouldn't have to fight so intensely. Luolua's eyes lit up as she praised. Yi Xian nodded in agreement. However, if his devouring system had been upgraded that day, he wouldn't even need to use the 10,000 returning swords. He could just rely on his bloodline to deal with the retired emperor. After all, after the devouring system was upgraded, all of his bloodlines had advanced once. By now, Yi Xian had already experienced both the upgraded and newly unlocked systems. However, there was still a system that had yet to be unlocked that attracted Yi Xian's attention. The Bloodline Fusion System. The host is still missing a battle bloodline. It is unable to be unlocked. This was the reason why the Bloodline Fusion System had yet to be unlocked. After Yi Xian saw it, his eyes lit up again. Now he already had 5 bloodlines. The Sword God bloodline, the Beast God bloodline, the Divine Tree of Life bloodline, the Gemini bloodline, and the Heavenly Eye Clan bloodline. He had 2 Constitution bloodlines and 2 support bloodlines. However, he was still missing a battle bloodline. It seemed that the Bloodline Fusion System could only be unlocked by having 6 bloodlines in one body. I wonder if I can fuse the battle bloodline with the battle bloodline, or can I just choose any one of them? Yi Xian didn't understand either, but he knew that the Bloodline Fusion System must be very powerful. Unfortunately, the battle bloodline wasn't expensive, but the battle bloodline expansion slot was extremely expensive. Yi Xian only hoped to buy the battle bloodline expansion slot before he reached the 3 sovereign disasters. As for the new battle bloodline, he had already chosen it. After the devouring system was upgraded, the bloodline had also been upgraded. However, he couldn't afford the battle bloodline expansion slot, so he only gave it a cursory glance. Now that the devouring system had been upgraded, Yi Xian couldn't just sit there and do nothing. Luo Luo hadn't broken through to the mid-stage 9th sovereign realm, so Yi Xian wanted to take this opportunity to visit the other high-grade holy empires. Luo Luo, I'm going out for a while, Yi Xian said to Wei Zhentian, who was playing with him. N. Luo Luo replied softly. Only Yi Xian's main body went out. His first clone was still here to comprehend the sword-shaped stone. If Yi Xian's main body was in danger, he could immediately send Luo Luo and Wei Zhentian into the storage space and let his main body out. However, Yi Xian could be considered to be invincible in the Blood Cliff continent. There were a total of 4 holy empires in the Blood Cliff continent. Other than the Royal Sacred Dynasty, there were 3 more. This time, Yi Xian's target was the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty, which was the closest to the Royal Sacred Dynasty. In terms of strength, the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty couldn't be compared to the Royal Sacred Dynasty. However, the treasures in the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty's treasury were definitely more than the Royal Sacred Dynasty's. Yi Xian rushed at full speed. In just 5 days, he had already reached the imperial capital of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty from the Royal Sacred Dynasty. The Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty was also a peak 9th supreme being. There was also an expert in the imperial capital who had passed human body disaster. With my current strength, I can directly kill my way in. There is no need to use the Eye of Control. However, it's better to be safe. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and directly arrived outside the imperial capital. Without waiting for the imperial capital's general to speak, Yi Xian directly controlled him. Lord, please enter. The imperial capital's general directly led Yi Xian in. The soldiers guarding the imperial capital were also very surprised. They had been guarding the imperial capital for so long, but this was the first time they saw Yi Xian. However, they didn't dare to ask too much. After successfully entering the imperial capital, Yi Xian directly said, "Bring me to your emperor." Yes. The imperial capital's general respectfully replied. With him leading the way, Yi Xian didn't need to look for the emperor himself. Soon, he arrived at the emperor's court. In a dignified and luxurious hall, one official after another respectfully bowed. A middle-aged man sat on the dragon throne. He was the emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty. However, Yi Xian just directly walked in. General Hong, who is he? When the emperor saw the imperial capital's general, he was very surprised and asked. It was time for the imperial capital's court. What was the imperial capital's general doing here instead of guarding the imperial capital? Yi Xian was too lazy to talk nonsense. He directly used the Eye of Control on the emperor. The Heavenly Eye clan's bloodline had been upgraded twice by the advancement points. After the devouring system was upgraded, it was upgraded once more. Therefore, the effect was much stronger than before. Yi Xian only used the Eye of Control once to successfully control the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty's emperor. Ah, so it's Lord Envoy. Chapter 936. The civil and military officials were still kneeling. They didn't dare to turn around and could only listen. Soon, they felt that the emperor had been abducted, so they could only continue kneeling. But what surprised them was that the envoy was only a mid-stage supreme being. But they didn't think too much about it. It must be because their cultivation level was too low. Just like that, Yi Xian abducted the emperor during the court session and asked him to bring him to the national treasury. The national treasury of the royal sacred dynasty had been used by the retired emperor to exchange for the blood rock. But before he could use the rock to enter the sacred land, he was killed by Yi Xian. The blood rock and the sword-shaped stone fell into Yi Xian's hands. However, the Cyan Feather Sacred Dynasty didn't do that. They knew that even if they sent people to the Blood Rock sect, they would only send the lowest-level people. It was better for them to develop in the Blood Rock continent. They would rather be the head of a lion than the tail of a phoenix. Yi Xian let the Cyan Feather Sacred Dynasty's emperor bring him to the national treasury. But the moment the door was opened, a powerful aura covered the entire area. "Son, why are you not in the court session? What are you doing in the national treasury?" An old voice sounded. Yi Xian turned around and saw an old man in green robes flying over. "Greetings, father." The emperor hurriedly greeted him. If it was before, Yi Xian would definitely be shocked. But when he saw the retired emperor of the Cyan Feather Sacred Dynasty, he didn't care at all. "Who is this kid?" The retired emperor of the Cyan Feather Sacred Dynasty flew over and looked at Yi Xian. At this time, the emperor should be in the court session. But why did he bring a young man to the national treasury? "Don't ask. Your son is under my control. If you know what's good for you, turn around and leave," Yi Xian said calmly. With his current strength, he didn't need to be afraid of the other party. In this world where the strong were respected, heavenly treasures belonged to the strong. "What did you say?" When he heard Yi Xian, the Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty glared at him. He turned around and saw that his son was kneeling beside Yi Xian. It meant that Yi Xian was telling the truth. A ninth supreme being controlled by a ninth supreme being was truly inconceivable. "No, you're not a mid-stage ninth supremacy," the Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty exclaimed. "Forget it, you're the one who's courting death." Yi Xian's eyes flashed. In the next moment, two figures appeared beside him. "Luo Luo. Wei Zhentian. Young master, are you going to charm him?" Luo Luo looked at the Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty and asked curiously. Yi Xian nodded. In the next moment, he used Burning Eye on the old man. "Charm." Luo Luo didn't hesitate and used her charm. The two mental attacks penetrated into the old man's head. "You're courting death." The old man was shocked and hurriedly threw out a punch. However, a giant shield suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xian and blocked the punch. Although Wei Zhentian was refined into a treasure, it could still transform. Moreover, it had the hardness of a supreme being's spiritual treasure. "Wei Zhentian, bind him!" Yi Xian shouted. "Kacha! Kacha!" Hearing this, Wei Zhentian immediately disintegrated into a suit of armor, which then charged toward the old man in pieces. "Get lost!" The old man threw out a punch crazily. However, with his cultivation level, he couldn't destroy a supreme being's spiritual treasure. After a few crisp sounds, the old man put on the armor that Wei Zhentian had transformed into. At that moment, he couldn't move at all. "What is this thing?" The Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty was shocked. He was a first-grade human body disaster expert. He could split mountains and split the earth with a punch. He had an extremely strong physique, but he was actually sealed by a strange thing. How could this be possible? Burning Eye. Charm. The Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty couldn't move at all. He could only become a target. His willpower was constantly being weakened. Yi Xian had never tried to control a human body disaster expert. Although it was a small level and a big level above, Yi Xian's Heavenly Eye Clan bloodline was already powerful. Moreover, he had advanced 3 times. It should be possible for him to control a human body disaster expert. B*****. Where did you come from? The Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty shouted angrily. In just 2 seconds, he felt pain that he hadn't felt in decades. No matter how strong his willpower was, he couldn't withstand such torture. Burning Eye. Charm. Forbidden Eye of Illusion. Another round of mental attacks. At that moment, the Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty's face twitched. He was hit by the Forbidden Eye of Illusion? Yi Xian was overjoyed. It seemed that the Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty's mental strength had been weakened by him. Eye of Control. This time, Yi Xian directly used the Eye of Control. Ding, control successful. When the system notification sounded, the green armor that Wei Zhentian had turned into shattered instantly. Then, it reformed into the Skyquake sword, which floated in the air. Greetings, Master. The Grand Emperor of the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty knelt on one knee. Very good. Yi Xian nodded in satisfaction. Now, he had a human body disaster servant. Then, he took the Grand Emperor's interspatial ring. After sweeping it with his fist, he threw it to Luo. Luo found many good things in it. She immediately smiled and said, "Thank you, young master." Originally, she estimated that she would need a month to break through to the peak of the 9th Supreme Being level. But now, the time could be shortened. Go in. At that moment, Yi Xian ordered the emperor to enter the treasury. There were many things in the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty's treasury, but it wasn't enough for Yi Xian to break through to the peak of the 9th Supreme Being level. Pass down the order to find this pattern. After that, Yi Xian ordered the emperor to search for the devouring rune. Then, Yi Xian quickly left the Cyan Feather Holy Dynasty and headed for his next target. The entire Blood Cliff continent seemed to have become Yi Xian's backyard. No one could stop him. Half a month later, Yi Xian swept through the remaining 2 high-grade holy dynasties. One of them was the Lion Emperor Holy Dynasty of the Beast Race. After plundering the 4 high-grade holy dynasties, Yi Xian's realm rose to the peak of the 9th Supreme Being level as expected. At that moment, in a certain corner of the Blood Cliff continent. Although I broke through to the peak of the 9th Supreme Being level, I still can't pass the human body disaster. Yi Xian had a headache. Even if he robbed all the holy dynasties in the Blood Cliff continent, he wouldn't be able to reach the peak. So he gave up. Young master, in a few more days, I will be able to break through to the peak of the 9th Supreme Being level. Luolua's voice sounded in Yi Xian's mind. All right, you continue to cultivate. This young master will go visit those mid-grade holy dynasties. Yi Xian replied. Chapter 937. Devour points could be used to upgrade one's bloodline, to upgrade one's body, or to exchange for other items. There were many uses for them. As for the source of Devour, it was a necessity to fuse one's bloodline. Of course, it could also be used to exchange for treasures. In short, there were 3 types of currency. Super Devour Crystals, Devour Points, and Devour Source. Battle Bloodline expansion was very expensive, but if one could obtain Devour Points, they could replace a large amount of Super Devour Crystals. Unfortunately, devouring beasts were not easy to find. Yi Xian passed through more than 10 mid-grade holy dynasties, but he couldn't find any in the treasury. Young master, I've already broken through to the peak of 9th supremacy. Just as Yi Xian was preparing to continue his journey, Luo sent him another message. All right, I'll return immediately. Yi Xian nodded, then broke through the void and teleported several times. He had 4 spatial coordinates, so he easily passed through dozens of holy dynasties and returned to the royal sacred dynasty. Young master, can we leave now? Luo asked when she saw Yi Xian return. Yi Xian nodded. It had been more than half a year since Song Suijing and Song Jejue were captured by the Yin Yang old ancestors. Therefore, Yi Xian didn't want to stay for a moment longer. Now their group was very strong. Whether it was Yi Xian or Luo, they both had the strength to fight against a human body disaster expert. Wei Zhentian was even more powerful. Because it had fused with the supreme spiritual treasure, Shadowless Sword, it was already at the supreme spiritual treasure level. In addition to the spiritual treasure system, it was now undying, unless Yi Xian's main body and 2 clones fell. However, Yi Xian left his second clone in the eastern continent, and old immortal Tianju was in the eastern continent. Although it wasn't 100% safe, there was still a 99% chance. After tidying up, they prepared to set off. However, just as they were about to set off, a powerful aura suddenly entered Yi Xian's detection range. So strong, this aura is several times stronger than the human body disaster experts of various countries. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. At this time, his nerves were already tense. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be such a powerful person on the Blood Cliff continent, so he guessed that this person should be from the Holy Land. This was a young man dressed in red. He looked to be around 30 years old. He flew directly above the royal sacred dynasty's imperial city and shouted, "Where is Wu Gaoyi?" This sentence entered the ears of everyone in the imperial city, causing them to be astonished. Who was Wu Gaoyi? How dare you trespass into the imperial city? A general who didn't have eyes yelled and led a small team to rush forward. Noisy! Unexpectedly, the red-clothed young man waved his hand a few times, and a few palm blades instantly killed the entire team. What a joke! A mere supreme being dares to challenge the experts of the 3 sovereign disasters? Others may not know who Wu Gaoyi was, but Yi Xian did. Wu Gaoyi was the retired emperor of the royal sacred dynasty whom he and Luo Luo had joined forces to kill. Immediately, the emperor flew forward and respectfully said, "Greetings, Lord Envoy. My father is out. In 7 days, the Blood Cliff Sex team will pick you up. If you are late, you will bear the consequences." The red-clothed young man said in a low voice. No, my father has already given the Blood Cliff to a genius of the royal family." The emperor hurriedly shook his head. Immediately after, Yi Xian and Luo Luo flew up. At the same time, Yi Xian still held the Blood Cliff in his hand. "Good, then leave with me now." The red-clothed young man nodded slightly, preparing to leave with Yi Xian. The emperor hurriedly pointed at Luo Luo and said, "Lord Envoy, her aptitude is not bad. She is only 15 years old this year and has already broken through to the peak of the 9th sovereign realm. She has met the requirements of the Blood Cliff sect. Please bring her along with you." The Blood Cliff sect's requirements were to break through to the peak of the 9th sovereign realm before the age of 20, and Luo Luo was only 15 years old. She definitely met the requirements. However, there were many heavenly treasures in this world that could preserve one's appearance. It was impossible to judge from one's appearance. 15 years old, huh? Not bad. Your royal sacred dynasty has finally produced a genius after so many years. The red-clothed young man nodded slightly. Shortly after, he took out a purple crystal and threw it to Luo Luo. "Hold on to it." Luo Luo caught the purple crystal. In the next instant, the purple crystal shone brightly, flashing for a total of 15 times. Indeed, 15 years old. Even in my Blood Cliff sect, such aptitude is not bad. The red-clothed young man was very satisfied. What he said was the truth. After all, the place where Luo Luo lived in was the Blood Cliff continent, not the sacred lands. If Luo Luo had grown up in the sacred lands, she would have already passed her human body disaster. At this time, the red-clothed young man's gaze landed on Yi Xian. However, he can only enter my Blood Cliff sect with the help of the Blood Cliff sect. He still has to work in the labor hall for 3 full years or pass his human body disaster before he can be promoted to a disciple. Labor hall. 3 full years? Yi Xian's eyebrows twitched. The labor hall was obviously a place for laborers. Moreover, he had to work there for 3 full years? However, it was not necessary to work there for 3 full years to be promoted to a disciple. After all, there was still the path to breakthrough. All right. My Blood Cliff Sex team will arrive in 7 days. Let's go. The red-clothed young man grabbed Yi Xian and Luo Luo, one in each hand, and flew directly into the distance. This Blood Cliff continent was one of the 10 territories under the Blood Cliff sect. Moreover, it was not very valued, so the red-clothed young man was the only one guarding it. As for the entrance to the sacred lands, it was not on the Blood Cliff continent, but on a small island on the edge of the Blood Cliff continent. The red-clothed young man grabbed Yi Xian and Luo Luo, and spent 5 days to return to the small island. Before they landed, the small island was already in an uproar. Master is back. Yi Xian looked at the small island and swept it with his eye of revelation. His face turned pale with fright. On the shore of the small island, there were more than 100 beautiful women. Moreover, their strength was not weak. They were at least 9th Tribulation Supremes. These are my wives and concubines. Stay on the small island for a night and don't run around. If you delay, you will bear the consequences. Tomorrow, I will send you into the sacred lands, and my Blood Cliff sect team will escort you back to the Blood Cliff sect. The red-clothed young man directly left Yi Xian and Luo Luo behind, and then entered a palace under the escort of the 100 beautiful women. F***CK. Yi Xian was already so shocked that he prostrated himself on the ground. This red-clothed young man was only an ordinary disciple of the Blood Cliff sect, but on this Blood Cliff continent, he was a tyrant. What a playboy. Looks like he's not a good person, Luo Luo said softly. This sentence almost scared Yi Xian to death. Fortunately, Luo Luo said it directly in his mind and did not open her mouth. Chapter 938. Don't speak carelessly. I'm afraid that this person is a second or third grade human body disaster expert. Yi Xian warned. Although he also felt that this red-clothed youth had a little too many wives and concubines. Even if he had 3 a day, it would still take a month. Young master, I won't say it. However, if it's only second-grade human body disaster, we should be able to deal with it, right? Luo Luo asked curiously. Hearing this, Yi Xian nodded. Me and you together with Wei Zhentian should be able to fight a second-grade human body disaster expert. However, we shouldn't be able to fight a third-grade human body disaster expert, unless we make a breakthrough. Oh, I'll go and cultivate. If I don't have any worldly treasures, I estimate that I'll need at least 3 months to pass the first-grade human body disaster. Luo Luo pouted. 3 months was already an extremely frightening number. Even the retired emperor had spent an entire 10 years, as well as a large amount of heavenly and earthly treasures to break through to the first layer of human body disaster. Don't worry, when we reach the sacred land, I'll get the worldly treasures for you. Yi Xian vowed. In his hand, there was a sword-shaped stone. Previously, he had given the stone to the Burning Sun Hall Master, but later on, he found out that the stone was extremely precious, even more precious than a supreme spiritual treasure. If he revealed the secret of the stone, that red-clothed youth might just kill him and steal it. Therefore, Yi Xian wanted to find an opportunity to give the stone to him after entering the sacred land. Unfortunately, the stone was a comprehension item, so it wouldn't have much value if he devoured it. During this day, Yi Xian and Luo Luo casually found a place on this small island to pass the time. Ever since the devouring system was upgraded, there was an additional mission system. This mission system was pretty good, but it was a pity that Yi Xian was currently in the Bloodcliff continent. The missions here were all very low-level missions, which were nothing more than killing people, hunting supreme sacred beasts, finding materials, and the like. The rewards were also cheap, such as low-grade supreme divine weapons. Therefore, Yi Xian didn't want to waste his time. However, when they reached the sacred land, the missions would be more effective. After completing the mission, he would be rewarded with precious ores, supreme martial arts, and even the necessities for opening his heaven's eye. However, for Yi Xian, the most attractive thing was the devour point. Yi Xian and Luo Luo stayed on the island for a day. The next day, the red-clothed young man came looking for him. My Blood Rock sex team will be here soon. The 2 of you follow me. The red-clothed youth said to Yi Xian and Luo Luo. Yi Xian and the other 2 quickly followed him and entered the palace of the red-clothed youth. The Holy Land was actually a huge secret realm that was countless times larger than the Bloodcliff continent. The entrance to the secret realm was beneath the palace. Soon, Yi Xian saw the entrance to the secret realm. Come in. The red-clothed youth led Yi Xian and Luo Luo inside. After Yi Xian and Luo Luo passed through, they couldn't help but shiver. They looked around and found that the Holy Land was no different from the Bloodcliff continent. However, the yuan qi in the Holy Land was at least 10 times that of the Bloodcliff continent. They stopped at the edge of a cliff, and in front of them was a boundless grassland. My Blood Rock sect might not be a big deal in the Penglai Holy Land, but to you, we are a big deal. Kid, since you entered using the Blood Rock, you can choose not to enter the Blood Rock sect. The red-clothed youth said to Yi Xian. I choose to enter. Yi Xian nodded. What a joke. The yuan qi in the Holy Land was so abundant. If he cultivated there, his cultivation speed would be at least 10 times faster than the outside world. There were probably many experts who had passed human body disaster. Wandering in the Holy Land alone was simply courting death. It was better to find a place to understand the Holy Land first. However, Yi Xian found out something from the red-clothed youth's words. There was probably more than one Holy Land. The Holy Land where the Blood Rock sect was located was called the Penglai Holy Land. He just didn't know if the Enyang Old Ancestor was in the Penglai Holy Land. Lord Envoy, have you heard of the Enyang Old Ancestor? Yi Xian asked. Enyang Old Ancestor? The red-clothed youth frowned. He didn't know why Yi Xian asked this, but he still replied, I haven't heard of him. Has he appeared in the Blood Rock continent before? Yes, I was lucky enough to see him half a year ago. He should be from the Holy Land. When he left, He should have brought a man and a woman with him. Yi Xian immediately nodded and took out a portrait. Oh, it's this senior. The red-clothed youth immediately recognized him and said, "The Bloodrock continent is under the control of my Bloodrock sect. There are many experts here, and this senior is one of them." Then, Lord Envoy, do you know who this senior is? Yi Xian's eyes immediately lit up. He had previously guessed that the Yin-Yang Old Ancestor came from the Holy Land, and now it was confirmed. I'm not sure. Even the experts from the Wanxiang realm have come to the Bloodrock continent before. They usually come to the Bloodrock continent to explore and excavate, and occasionally help to expand the territory. I was lucky enough to see them a few times, and this senior you speak of is probably even stronger than the experts from the Wanxiang realm. He isn't someone I can come into contact with. The red-clothed youth shook his head and asked, "Why? Do you need this senior for something? Stronger than the experts from the Wanxiang realm?" Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. It seemed that things were going to be troublesome. He didn't expect the Yin-Yang Old Ancestor to be so powerful. Those from the Wanxiang realm had the ability to move islands. Even 10,000 Yi Xian wouldn't be a match for them. However, this Yin-Yang Old Ancestor was even stronger than the experts from the Wanxiang realm. Yi Xian immediately felt a huge pressure. Yi Xian calmed down and replied, "No, I was just lucky enough to see that senior that day. I didn't expect that senior to be so strong." "Oh, indeed. That senior is the strongest person I've ever seen." The red-clothed youth thought that Yi Xian was related to the Yin-Yang Old Ancestor. He didn't expect that he had only met him once. Yi Xian didn't want to spread the news that Song Suijing and Song Jujue were captured by the Yin-Yang Old Ancestor just in case. Then, "Senior brother, have you heard of old immortal Tianju?" Yi Xian continued asking. "Old immortal Tianju?" The red-clothed youth frowned and said, "Nope." This answer surprised Yi Xian. Just as Yi Xian was about to take out the portrait of old immortal Tianju, a cry suddenly came from the sky. Yi Xian and the other two turned their heads and saw a giant blood-red bird flying over. "My Bloodrock Sex team is here," the red-clothed youth said. As soon as he finished speaking, the giant blood-red bird flew over their heads. So fast. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva because his eyes of perception found an aura that was many times stronger than the red-clothed youth. Oh, the 10th Bloodrock continent sent 2 people this year? Chapter 939. Lord Deacon, this little girl's aptitude has reached the sex standards, the red-clothed youth said respectfully. The red-clothed old man's gaze locked onto Luo Luo's body and said, "It's actually a little fox. This is the first time I've seen it." After he finished speaking, he took out a crystal to test Luo Luo's age. 15 years old, not bad, not bad. This is the best result in the history of the 10th continent. The red-clothed old man nodded with satisfaction, then looked at Yi Xian and said, "Kid, how old are you?" 24. Yi Xian answered honestly, at the same time handing over a blood rock. "With this blood rock, you can work in the labor hall for 3 years. The red-clothed old man took the rock and said, "You too, get on the back of the bloodrock bird." Yi Xian and Luo Luo heard this and flew up with the red-clothed old man. When they arrived on the back of the bloodrock bird, they found that there were already many people on it. These people were all very young, and some had even reached the realm of human body disaster. "Sigh, our Bloodrock continent is too low level. These people should be from other Bloodrock continents." Yi Xian sighed in his heart. From the crown prince of the royal sacred dynasty, he found out that there wasn't just one Blood Cliff continent. There were quite a few. These geniuses gave Yi Xian immense pressure. The Bloodrock bird began to fly. This red-clothed old man was only a deacon of the Bloodrock sect. He was in charge of picking up newcomers in this area every year. And Yi Xian's Bloodrock continent was not the last, so they still had to go around. Next, Yi Xian and Luo Luo stayed on the back of the Bloodrock bird for 7 days, picking up more than 10 people before flying to the Bloodrock sect. During this time on the back of the Bloodrock bird, Yi Xian relied on his eye of perception to hear many things from the surrounding people. For example, the Bloodrock bird they were riding on was nurtured by the Bloodrock sect. Another example was that the Bloodrock sect was built on a Bloodrock mine. Those who did not meet the requirements to enter the Bloodrock sect had to work in the labor hall for 3 years. During these 3 years, they had to mine Bloodrock. The Bloodrock can be used to forge Supreme Being's spiritual treasures. If it was given to Wei Zhentian, It would definitely be able to greatly increase his strength. Now, I'm going to be sent to mine blood rocks. With the devouring space, I'm going to make a fortune. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Those who entered the blood rock mine were not allowed to wear universe rings. The blood rock sect would issue universe rings to prevent people from stealing blood rocks. However, no one would be able to discover Yi Xian's devouring space. When the time came, he would be able to do some sneaky things. Thinking of this, Yi Xian was excited because he had found a way to make money. After another week, the Blood Cliff bird finally arrived at the Blood Cliff sect. The red-robed old man jumped to the ground, and a disciple immediately came to greet him. "All right, those who meet the entry requirements, come with me. The rest follow him to the labor hall." The red-clothed old man said, "Young master, my aptitude is not bad. When the time comes, I will help you get it." Luo Luo said in his mind, "No need, I can get it out myself. You just focus on cultivating." Yi Xian directly refused. "All right, then Luo Luo will leave first." Luo Luo giggled, then left with a red-clothed old man. Looking at her departing figure, Yi Xian revealed a sorrowful expression. Because it was like this every time. When Luo Luo was in the royal sacred dynasty, she was directly recruited as a consecrated, and he was only a small captain of the Imperial Guard. At this time, he looked around and found that there were more than 30 people like him who were sent to the labor hall. "All of you, follow me." A red-clothed disciple of the Blood Rock sect said. Those who stayed with Yi Xian were all peak supreme beings, but they were all over 20 years old. Therefore they had to stay in the labor hall for 3 full years, or break through the 3 minor disasters during this time. Yi Xian mixed in with these people and followed the red-clothed disciple to the labor hall to register, then distributed some things and accommodation. "Now, you are all odd jobs disciples of the Blood Rock sect. I think you already know that the most important task of the labor hall is to mine blood rocks. Every person has to hand in 30 blood rocks every month, which is 1 piece per day. If you are found to be lazy, you will be expelled from the Blood Rock sect." The disciple said, "Senior brother, what if we mine a few more blood rocks?" Someone asked. "You still have to hand in the extra rocks, but it will be recorded. Every person will get 1 blood rock every day, which is 30 pieces per month. If you mine more blood rocks, for example, 40 pieces, then you will get 1 blood rock as a reward, which is 1/10 of the total." The red-clothed disciple explained. After hearing this, Yi Xian couldn't help but secretly roll his eyes. To put it simply, every month, they had to dig out at least 30 blood rocks. If they dug out more than 10, they would get 1 blood rock as a reward. If they dug out more than 100, they would get 10 blood rocks as a reward. How greedy! I will collect as many as I dig out tomorrow. Yi Xian secretly laughed. With the devouring space, he only needed to hand in 1 blood rock every day. Soon, he returned to his residence to rest. Luo Luo had already been taken away by the red-clothed elder. With her talent, there should be someone who would accept her as a disciple. Not long after, Luo Luo sent back a message. "Young master, an elder has accepted me as a disciple." Luo Luo's delighted voice rang in Yi Xian's mind. "Elder? That's right. What is his cultivation level?" Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. "Master told me not to ask too much." Luo Luo replied, "But he gave me 1,000 blood rocks." 1,000 blood rocks. After hearing this, Yi Xian almost swallowed his Adam's apple. Other people would work hard in the blood rock vein for an entire day, and they would only get 1 or 2 blood rocks. Moreover, they would have to hand them all in, but Luo Luo actually got 1,000 blood rocks. It should be known that even a first-grade supreme spiritual treasure of the lowest quality would require 100 blood rocks. If a servant disciple could dig out 4 blood rocks every month and hand in 30 pieces, they would get a blood rock every month as a reward. That would be 12 blood rocks a year. If they wanted to buy a supreme spiritual treasure, they would need to spend 9 years. "Young master, do you want it? As long as you break through the first-grade human body disaster, you can be promoted to an official disciple," Luo Luo asked. "Not for now. I will go to the blood rock vein tomorrow to take a look. When the time comes, you can directly exchange your 1,000 blood rocks for heavenly treasures for your own cultivation. Also, give me some forging materials." "Young master, you can go and forge a supreme spiritual treasure," Yi Xian said. "Okay." Very soon, A day had passed. This was Yi Xian's first day in the Bloodrock sect. Chapter 940. The next day, Yi Xian went to the assembly early in the morning. This new batch of odd-job disciples needed to go to the Bloodrock vein to mine. The red-clothed disciple from yesterday also arrived on time. All right, you 35 people, follow me to the Bloodrock vein. Let's go. After the red-clothed disciple finished speaking, he took the lead and flew in a certain direction. After flying for an hour, they finally saw a pillar of pink light that soared into the sky. That's one of the mines of my Bloodrock sect. It's the smallest one. When the time comes, you are only allowed to bring weapons into the Bloodrock vein, the red-clothed disciple said. Senior brother, is there any danger in the Bloodrock vein? Someone asked worriedly. Yes, there is. There's a transcending saint beast called the Bloodrock spider. It's comparable to a first-stage human body disaster. You have to be careful when you excavate the stone walls, because sometimes, you will find the nest of the Bloodrock spider. However, you don't have to worry. There are disciples of my sect guarding the Bloodrock vein. If a Bloodrock spider appears, they will kill it, the red-clothed disciple replied. Hearing that there was danger, the people present couldn't remain calm. One had to know that they were still supremes, while the weakest Bloodrock spider was comparable to a first-stage human body disaster expert. If they really found it, they would be dead. The probability of finding a Bloodrock spider's nest isn't high. It might not even appear once a month. If someone really finds it, then they will have to pray for good luck. After the red-clothed disciple finished speaking, he went to the side of the pink light pillar. That pink pillar of light came from a huge hole in the ground, which was the Bloodrock mine. After that, Yi Xian and the others handed over their interspatial rings and received a new one. Yi Xian also took out a supreme-level divine weapon and pretended to be pretentious. All right, from now on, you will come here by yourselves. Remember, you must excavate 30 Bloodrocks every month. After the red-clothed disciple finished speaking, he turned around and left. There were still a few disciples of the Bloodrock sect at the entrance of the mine. They were in charge of guarding Yi Xian's interspatial ring and identity token. After that, Yi Xian took the new interspatial ring and jumped into the Bloodrock vein. The Bloodrock mine had just been opened, so it wasn't very big. Before Yi Xian even landed, he sensed hundreds of people, all of whom were here to mine the Bloodrock. The great majority of these people were attacking the stone walls with weapons in hand. Of course, there were also some people who practiced martial arts, so they used their fists to smash things. However, the toughness of the stone wall was beyond Yi Xian's expectations. This mine was filled with pink rocks, but they were just ordinary rocks. The real Bloodrock was dark red, not these pink rocks. Yi Xian glanced around and discovered that his perceptive eye could cover the entire bloodstone mine. To be on the safe side, he found an empty tunnel and started mining. Wei Zhentian. Yi Xian immediately summoned Wei Zhentian and said, "It's up to you." Wei Zhentian immediately reformed into a drill and started digging madly into the depths of the mine. As for Yi Xian, he directly took out a new shadowless sword. Flowing shadow sword. Bam! The stone wall in front of him exploded, but the defensive power of the stone wall was beyond his expectations. His sword only managed to cut a meter into the wall. He turned to look at Wei Zhentian and found that Wei Zhentian had drilled 5 meters into the wall. Wei Zhentian, we'll split the loot, Yi Xian said to Wei Zhentian. Since normal attacks didn't work, he would try something else. Yi Xian's eyes flickered and a silver light shot out. Eye of Nirvana. Boom. The stone wall exploded once again. This time, it was 5 meters away. I didn't expect that even the Eye of Nirvana wouldn't work. Since that's the case, let's try the disintegration eye. Yi Xian glared again and shot out 2 disintegration rays. BZZT. The disintegration rays hit the stone wall and it quickly turned into ashes. What a fast disintegration speed. Yi Xian was shocked. In the blink of an eye, the stone wall in front of him became much more spacious. At least 100 square meters had been disintegrated. However, Yi Xian suddenly thought of something. Would the disintegration eye disintegrate the Bloodrock as well? Coincidentally, Wei Zhentian suddenly threw a Bloodrock over. Other people can only dig 1 meter into the stone wall in an hour. My speed is considered fast. Yi Xian thought for a while and then placed the Bloodrock on the ground. Disintegration eye. 2 more disintegration rays were fired, and this time, they hit the blood rock directly. He felt helpless because the blood rock wasn't easy to obtain. It would be a tragedy if the disintegration ray disintegrated the blood rock. Fortunately, the blood rock wasn't an ordinary thing. It wasn't disintegrated by the disintegration ray. After seeing this, Yi Xian didn't know how to describe his feelings. After all, the Heavenly Eye clan's bloodline had evolved 3 times. However, this was good news for him. Since it can't be disintegrated, then it's easy. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. In the next moment, he summoned his first doppelganger. Then, he and his doppelganger attacked together. Using the disintegration eye at the same time doubled their efficiency. The disintegration eye consumed less eye energy than the Eye of Nirvana, but the Divine Tree of Life couldn't recover eye energy. Therefore, Yi Xian was mining while searching. Found it! The Divine Eye chapter can increase eye energy and the recovery speed of eye energy. Yi Xian found something good in the new exchange system. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough super devouring crystals, so he had to devour the blood rock he obtained. The first level of the Divine Eye chapter requires 10 blood rocks. What a scam! Yi Xian was slightly helpless. Now, he still lacked 9 blood rocks to exchange for the first level of the Divine Eye chapter. Fortunately, he had Wei Zhentian. Little Tian, mine 9 blood rocks for me first, Yi Xian said to Wei Zhentian. Just now, Wei Zhentian had only mined for a short while. In fact, he was lucky to have obtained a blood rock. As for the second blood rock, Yi Xian had to wait for half an hour. 10 blood rocks also took Yi Xian an entire morning. Ding! Host has learned the Divine Eye chapter. The system notified. Spending 10 blood rocks to exchange for the first level of the Divine Eye chapter was indeed worth it. Yi Xian had just learned it, but his eye energy limit had doubled. My eye energy recovery speed has also increased. Good, the efficiency has increased again. Yi Xian was wild with joy. In a day, he could at least collect 30 blood rocks. More importantly, he could pass the human body disaster with just a few more blood rocks. At that time, his mining speed would at least double. Another half a day passed. When Yi Xian devoured the 20th blood rock, he finally heard the system's notification. Chapter 941. Ding! Host has broken through. Currently at first grade human body disaster. Breaking through from the Supreme Being to the Supreme Being, 3 minor disasters didn't require anything, so Yi Xian successfully broke through. His aura skyrocketed the moment he broke through. Not only that, but his physique also improved by several times. His combat strength increased by at least 5 times. Physical body disaster. What I train is the physical body. Right now, my physical body's defense is even stronger than the sovereign golden body. The sovereign golden body is completely useless to me. Yi Xian thought to himself. Now, he could use the Beast God Bloodline's Beast King Rampage skill again. Previously, Luo had mutated twice, and the Beast God Bloodline had also mutated twice. Coupled with the upgrade of the Devouring system, the Beast King Rampage skill increased by 3 times, reaching 60%. However, after breaking through, Yi Xian put his mind on another matter. Wei Zhentian was still mining, and Yi Xian took out a round jade pendant. This round jade pendant was given to Yi Xian by old immortal Tianju, and it recorded the Yin Yang old ancestors' information. Yi Xian wrapped the round jade pendant with his vital energy, and then, 8 words appeared on the jade pendant. Glazed light sacred ground, Yin Yang temple. After seeing these 8 words, Yi Xian's face immediately froze, because the name of the sacred ground wasn't Panglai, but glazed light. Damn it, it's not the Panglai sacred ground. Then where is the glazed light sacred ground? Yi Xian frowned as he thought. The size of the Panglai sacred ground was beyond his imagination, and he didn't know how long it would take to travel from the Panglai sacred ground to the glazed light sacred ground. Luo, help me ask where the glazed light sacred ground is. Yi Xian immediately asked Luo. Okay. Luo responded. Not long after, she replied. Master said that there is a teleportation array between the glazed light sacred ground and the Panglai sacred ground. However, it would take at least 10 years to travel from the Bloodrock sect to the teleportation array. What, 10 years? Yi Xian exclaimed. This was a conservative estimate based on the realm of Luo's master, an elder of the Bloodrock sect. Furthermore, this was only the glazed light sacred land, not the Yin Yang temple. It would appear that young old ancestor has a very powerful background. No wonder old immortal Tianju said that I am far too lacking. Yi Xian felt extremely bitter in his heart. He had spent half a year to break through from the Supremacy Realm to the 3 sovereign prefectures of Supremacy Realm. Although old immortal Tianju said that as long as the frequency of Song Sui Jing and Adjudicator Song did not match, they would not be able to successfully fuse. However, what if the Yin-Yang ancestor had other tricks up his sleeve? No matter what, he had to increase his strength as soon as possible, and then go to the glazed light Holy Land. Wei Zhentian, continue mining. Yi Xian immediately ordered. Now that he had broken through to the first stage of human body disaster, his mining speed had doubled. Furthermore, he possessed the bloodline of the divine tree of life, so he did not need to rest. Therefore, what he wanted to do now was to mine through the night. Although Wei Zhentian was a Dharma treasure, it could still devour blood rocks to improve. As it continued to refine blood rocks, its mining speed would also continue to increase. With the 3-pronged approach, their efficiency was unparalleled. Yi Xian had just entered the blood rock mine today, but he had already mined 100 blood rocks. If this was known by others, they would probably be scared to death. A day later, Yi Xian left with more than 40 blood rocks. Luo Luo, have you collected my forging materials? Yi Xian asked. Yes, but these materials are surprisingly cheap. I exchanged 1 blood rock for 100 sets of materials for the shadowless sword. Luo Luo replied. Then I will see you at the mountain gate. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he directly left the mine and placed a blood rock in his interspatial ring and handed it over. On the first day, he had mined more than 100 blood rocks, devoured 20 of them, and divided the rest equally with Wei Zhentian. However, he felt that the most profitable thing was still forging supremacy spiritual treasures. When a blood rock sect disciple outside the blood rock mine saw Yi Xian, he could not help but ask, "Hey, junior brother, you have broken through. Do you want to be promoted to an ordinary disciple, or continue to mine blood rocks as a servant disciple?" If he was promoted to an ordinary disciple, he would not be able to continue mining blood rocks. This was because the mining speed of blood rock sect's servant disciples was equal to the speed at which the blood rocks were condensed. If an ordinary disciple were to mine, the blood rock mine would be cleared very quickly and no more blood rocks would be condensed. I will not be promoted for the time being. Thank you, senior brother. Yi Xian thanked him and then left. If the blood rock sect disciple knew that Yi Xian had mined more than 100 blood rocks in a day, he would probably be scared to death. After leaving the blood rock mine, Yi Xian rushed towards the mountain gate of the blood rock sect. When the blood rock sect disciple had brought them here, many of them were extremely slow, so it took them an hour to get back. Now that Yi Xian had broken through, it only took him 10 minutes to return to the blood rock sect. Young master over here. Luo Luo waved at Yi Xian in front of the mountain gate. Her pure and beautiful appearance, coupled with the inexplicable attraction of the bewitching clan to men, attracted the gazes of many blood rock sect disciples. Luo Luo knew this very well. Fortunately, she had called out Yi Xian in her mind. Otherwise, Yi Xian would have become the public enemy. Yi Xian quickly rushed over and took the interspatial ring from Luo Luo's hand. He said helplessly, "Why are the materials here so cheap? 1 blood rock can be exchanged for 100 sets of blood rocks, and a supreme spiritual treasure costs at least 100 blood rocks?" After he finished speaking, he used the 100 sets of materials to forge a total of 100 shadowless swords. Luo Luo, take these 100 swords to the weapon hall to have a look. Yi Xian passed the interspatial ring back to her. Okay, I will go now. Luo Luo replied and then ran away as fast as she could. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. Yi Xian took the interspatial ring and passed it back. Moreover, the 2 of them were silent. In the end, Luo Luo suddenly ran away. Was this a pantomime? Yi Xian waited at the mountain gate. After a while, Luo Luo said helplessly, "Young master, the shadowless sword is too lousy. It can barely be considered a supreme spiritual treasure." The old man in the weapon hall said that he would only give you 100 blood rocks for 100 of them. What? A shadowless sword for a single blood rock? Did he cheat you because you are young? Yi Xian was confused in the cold wind. The shadowless sword was a supreme spiritual treasure. No matter how many supreme spiritual treasures there were, it couldn't be so lousy that it was only worth a single blood rock. It's true. He used a supreme spiritual treasure as a comparison. In the end, the shadowless sword was cut in half. Luo Luo explained. Cough. Yi Xian was speechless. It seemed that the shadowless sword was really lousy. Speaking of which, the 10,000 swords manner skills were not very good. They had worked hard to forge the sword embryo of the shadowless sword, but they were unable to forge a complete shadowless sword. Chapter 942. The shadowless sword can only be considered a quasi-supreme spirit treasure. After all, the forging materials are available in the Burning Sun Hall. As for the weapons in the Bloodrock sect, they use bloodrocks, so it's reasonable for them to be more expensive. Yi Xian comforted himself before asking, then ask them if they can get the forging blueprints for supreme spirit treasures? They can't. Luo Luo replied. Alright, then go and get some more forging materials. A piece of bloodrock for 100 pieces of bloodrock is not a loss. Yi Xian quickly reacted. Amen, I'll go now. Luo Luo also felt that this was a good deal. As long as they did this a few more times, they would be rich. However, things weren't as simple as Yi Xian thought. Young master, one of the materials for the shadowless sword, fallen star whip, and everlasting hatred blade is too low grade. The Bloodrock sect doesn't have it. Luolua's voice sounded again. This time, Yi Xian really wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If the materials were high grade, the Bloodrock sect wouldn't have it. However, the materials were too low grade. When Yi Xian found out, he almost vomited blood. Give me as much as you can. Yi Xian could only give up on this path to riches and earn the last bit. In the end, Luo Luo only brought 30 materials for the shadowless sword. They earned another 30 blood rocks. The new exchange system allows us to buy supreme spirit treasures directly. However, the Bloodrock sect can forge their own supreme spirit treasures. If we buy them from the exchange system, we won't earn much. Instead, we'll attract attention. It's better to keep a low profile. Yi Xian decided to give up and obediently work as a miner. Actually, being a miner wasn't that bad. Currently, he was mining 100 pieces of bloodrock a day, which meant that he would be able to harvest 3,000 pieces of bloodrock a month. Furthermore, the mission only required him to hand in 30 pieces. In less than a month, he would be able to break through to the second stage of human body disaster. Right. Did you ask about the value of the sword-shaped stone? Yi Xian asked again. He had forgotten about the sword-shaped stone. Not yet. Master suddenly went into seclusion, so we have to wait for a while. Or I can ask others. Luo Luo shook her head. Then let's wait and ask her when she comes out. Don't show off your wealth. Yi Xian shook his head. They were new here, so it would be better if fewer people knew about the sword-shaped stone. At most, Luolua's teacher would know. Then, Yi Xian left. Luo Luo was about to break through to human body disaster in a short period of time. However, in order to save time, he had returned to the Bloodrock mine to mine. Now that he had broken through to the first layer of human body disaster, he would be able to mine more than 100 bloodrocks every day. After all, both his and Wei Zhentian's strength would continue to increase. He entered the Bloodrock mine again and summoned his doppelganger and Wei Zhentian to continue digging. Megatron was like a harvester. Its digging speed was much faster than Yi Xian's. However, after breaking through to Yi Xian of the 3 supreme sovereign disasters, the experience required to level up had greatly increased. Thus, he estimated that he would still need a few more days before he could break through. In the Bloodrock mine, there were people mining the bloodrock all the time. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly thought of an idea. Megatron, 10,000 swords return to origin. Yi Xian ordered Wei Zhentian. 10,000 swords return to origin was a move that Wei Zhentian obtained after being refined into Sky-Shaking Sword. It was extremely powerful. This move had a cooldown time of 1 day. Since he was not going out to train, it would be a waste not to use it. After receiving the order, Wei Zhentian immediately reformed into Sky-Shaking Sword. Then, it divided into 100 swords in this spacious area. Xiao! 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 Immediately, a gale whistled in the mine. The duration of 10,000 swords returned to origin would increase according to Wei Zhentian's level. Currently, Wei Zhentian was only at the first layer of human body disaster. However, he could still maintain it for more than 10 seconds. After more than 10 seconds, Yi Xian had dug out a hole the size of a football field in the mine. Holy shit, it's really amazing. 10 seconds saved me at least 2 to 3 hours. Yi Xian inwardly swallowed his saliva. At this time, Wei Zhentian had also returned to his drill bit form. Following that, Yi Xian swept a glance over and discovered that they had actually extracted more than 30 blood rocks. This was truly a burst of luck. Wei Zhentian, I'll give them all to you, Yi Xian said very generously. After Wei Zhentian heard this, he immediately jumped over in joy and swallowed all the blood rocks. After transforming from an earth spirit into an earth sovereign, Wei Zhentian's refining speed was really too shocking. He only needed 1 minute to refine 1 blood rock. Yi Xian also gave all the blood rocks he had obtained to Wei Zhentian. That was because he felt that Wei Zhentian would break through faster than him. After all, Wei Zhentian had a 40% increase in growth speed. On the second day, Yi Xian calculated that they had extracted more than 160 blood rocks. Even a first-grade human body disaster expert would only be able to extract 10 blood rocks at most. However, Yi Xian had extracted more than 10 times that amount. Other people would need to rest after mining for a period of time, but Yi Xian had the bloodline of the divine tree of life and could mine without rest throughout the year. He only needed to hand in a few blood rocks when it was time. Just like this, Yi Xian stayed in the blood rock mine for a total of 4 days. Ding! Wei Zhentian leveled up. A system notification rang out. You've finally broken through. Yi Xian's main body stopped and revealed a gratified smile to Wei Zhentian. His nurturing of Wei Zhentian was not in vain. Currently, Wei Zhentian's level, if converted to a human's level, would be second-grade human body disaster. Originally, before he broke through, he and Yi Xian could extract 200 blood rocks together. Now that he had broken through, he should be able to extract at least 100 blood rocks, right? Good fellow, come, myriad swords return to origin. Yi Xian commanded. In the next moment, Wei Zhentian turned back into the sky-shaking sword and split into over 100 clones. Yi Xian calculated that Wei Zhentian would break through today, so he kept the myriad swords return to origin. This time, the myriad swords return to origin opened up an area the size of 3 football fields. 87 blood rocks, awesome! Yi Xian praised. Since Wei Zhentian had broken through, then he would have to level up himself. Immediately, he devoured all 87 blood rocks. After that, he used the Super Devour Crystal of about 100 blood rocks to exchange for the second grade of the Divine Eye chapter, increasing his eye power once again. The increase in the upper limit of his eye power and the recovery speed of his eye power also led to an increase in Yi Xian's mining speed. He calculated that he could collect about 400 pieces of blood rocks a day. Haha, I've really earned a lot. Yi Xian laughed loudly in his heart. Now, even if he was given 10,000 blood rocks to become an inner disciple, he definitely wouldn't do it. Although excessive mining of blood rocks would cause the blood rock mine to dry up, Yi Xian couldn't be bothered with that. Chapter 943. Another 3 days passed. Ding! Host has made a breakthrough. Host is currently at second stage human body disaster. On the 7th day after Yi Xian entered the blood rock mine, he finally made a breakthrough. This time, his mining speed increased once again. With my current speed, I should be able to mine 600 pieces of blood rock every day. Mine for 1.5 days is equivalent to 2 years of work for an ordinary person. Yi Xian was inwardly delighted. The other odd job disciples, including Yi Xian himself, were given 30 pieces of blood rock every month, which meant 360 pieces of blood rock every year. And he could mine 600 pieces of blood rock every day, which meant that in 1.5 days, he would be equivalent to 2 years of work for an ordinary person. Suddenly, a sense of superiority rose from the bottom of Yi Xian's heart. 600 pieces of blood rock every day, which meant that in 10 days, he would be able to make a breakthrough to third-stage human body disaster in less than a month. At the same time, not long after Yi Xian made a breakthrough, Luo sent him another message. Young Master, Master said that the elementary sword-shaped stone can be used for 50,000 pieces of blood rock. Luo replied. All right, the sword-shaped stone is with you. You can use it to buy cultivation resources. Yi Xian nodded. 50,000 pieces of blood rock was not a small amount. If he had all of them, he would be able to make a breakthrough to third-stage human body disaster. Then what about you, young master? Luo asked. No need. I am currently earning 600 pieces of blood rock every day. I am self-sufficient. Yi Xian shook his head. Hee, thank you, young master. With these, I can make a breakthrough to third stage human body disaster in a month. Luo Luo giggled. The beast god's bloodline had mutated twice, which increased Luolua's cultivation speed by 40%. In addition to her own bloodline and charm fusion crystal, Luolua's 1 month of cultivation was equivalent to others' 1 year of cultivation. Most importantly, Luolua was only 15 years old. Her potential was limitless. Yi Xian continued to mine blood rock. Although his mining speed was fast, he still needed to provide for Wei Zhantian and Luolua's cultivation. Therefore he had to work hard. However, at this time, rumble. Suddenly, a deafening sound reverberated throughout the entire blood rock mine, causing the entire mine to shake. This loud noise made Yi Xian stop what he was doing. What happened? Yi Xian turned his head in confusion. Previously, he had used his strength to chase the group of odd job disciples to other places, so there was no one around. However, at this moment, a loud voice suddenly entered the range of his senses. Spider? Blood rock spider? Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. With his perceptive eye, he could sense that this was a creature with 8 legs. Without a doubt, this was the blood rock spider that the red-clothed disciple had mentioned. Previously, the red-clothed disciple had said that in a mine, they might not necessarily find a blood rock spider nest once a month. But now, a bloodstone spider had appeared. This meant that someone had accidentally dug into the bloodstone spider's nest. Ding! Random quest triggered. Stop the bloodstone spider tide. If one bloodstone spider rushes out of the bloodstone mine, the quest will fail. If the quest is successful, 1 devour point will be awarded. The system suddenly prompted. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up with greed. As long as he completed this quest, he would be able to obtain 1 devour point. This was a good opportunity. Wei Zhantian, let's go. Yi Xian hurriedly called Wei Zhantian over. Wei Zhantian turned back into the Skyquake sword and was held in Yi Xian's hand. Immediately, Yi Xian rushed out. Random quests were not easy to come by. If this group of blood rock spiders rushed out of the bloodstone mine, the quest would fail, and the devour point would be wasted. Although he was far from the entrance of the mine, with his strength, he could reach the entrance in 2 to 3 seconds. However, there were some giant blood rock spiders blocking the way. The smaller the mine, the weaker the blood rock spider. This mine is the smallest in the bloodstone sect, so the blood rock spiders are not strong. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. There were 10 blood rock spiders blocking the way in front, and there were many human corpses below. Seeing this, Yi Xian immediately attacked. Flowing Shadow Sword. Whoosh! With a slash of his sword, he directly killed several blood rock spiders. With 3 slashes, he cleaned up all the blood rock spiders. Then, he quickly collected the blood rock spiders' corpses. These blood rock spiders were transcendent saint beasts, and Yi Xian still had a trump card, which was the Beast King Rage, so he needed a large number of corpses. He could use this opportunity to collect the blood rock spiders' corpses. Along the way, he cut through all obstacles. After killing dozens of blood rock spiders, he arrived at the entrance of the mine. Someone had accidentally dug into the nest of the blood rock spiders, but there were already disciples guarding the mine, so the blood rock spiders had not yet reached the entrance. Seeing this, Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Then, he rushed down again and began to madly attack the blood rock spiders that kept coming out. According to past experience, there were at most 1,000 blood rock spiders in a bloodstone mine of this level. 1,000 blood rock spiders were equivalent to 1,000 first-grade human body disaster warriors. There were 2 blood rock sect disciples guarding the bloodstone mine. Including the one at the entrance, there were 3 in total. These 3 people were all at 2nd-grade human body disaster. The 3 of them were enough to resist this wave of blood rock spiders, not to mention that they also had Yi Xian's help. 160, 170, 180. Yi Xian hunted the blood rock spiders while collecting the corpses. He was also very helpless because the blood rock spider's level was not high, and he was already at 2nd-grade human body disaster, so he needed more than 100 corpses. In addition, there were still 3 other blood rock sect disciples fighting with him, so he estimated that he would not be able to gather enough corpses for 1 Beast King Rage. In less than 20 seconds, Yi Xian's group of 4 had already cleaned up more than 1,000 blood rock spiders. At the same time, Yi Xian himself collected 600 corpses. Junior brother, you actually broke through to second-grade human body disaster? Suddenly, a surprised voice sounded. Yi Xian turned his head and saw that it was the Blood Rock sect disciple who had kept his universe ring at the entrance of the mine. It was just a coincidence, Yi Xian said with a smile. A first-grade human body disaster warrior could become an ordinary disciple of the Blood Rock sect. For Yi Xian to break through to second-grade human body disaster in such a short time, how could he still be a servant disciple? The sacred beast souls of the 600 Blood Rock spider corpses were all devoured by Yi Xian. He estimated that a sacred beast soul was about the same value as a blood rock. The sacred beast souls of the 600 Blood Rock spiders had increased his cultivation by a lot. Chapter 944. Strange, I've already completed the random mission. Why haven't they given me a reward yet? Yi Xian was puzzled. He wondered if there were a few Blood Rock spiders that hadn't come out and were hiding in some corner. He landed on the ground. With his eye of perception, he didn't find any other Blood Rock spiders in the Blood Rock mine. Moreover, he found the nest of the Blood Rock spiders. Strange. Could it be in the nest? Yi Xian thought in his heart. However, just as he was about to take a stroll in the Blood Rock spider's nest, the ground suddenly began to tremble. Sure enough, there are more Blood Rock spiders. Yi Xian's expression was solemn as he quietly stood in place and waited. Not long after, a huge figure entered his sight. Humph, sure enough, there's still a Blood Rock Spider King. Junior brother, don't make a move, I'll do it, said the Blood Rock sect disciple. The Blood Rock Spider King was comparable to a second-grade human body disaster. Its sacred beast soul was very precious, so naturally, Yi Xian wouldn't have a chance. All right. Yi Xian's eyes flashed with a hint of helplessness. It seemed that he had no fate with this corpse. Although the Blood Rock Spider King was very strong, it still couldn't beat a human. Under the full-strength attack of the Blood Rock sect disciple, the Blood Rock Spider King was beaten to a pulp and was killed in less than 10 seconds. Ding! Random mission completed. Host has obtained 1 devour point. After the Blood Rock Spider King died, Yi Xian finally heard the notification sound. Random mission completed. Tisk. TSK. TSK. I accidentally obtained a devour point. Awesome. Yi Xian was pleased with himself. After all, this random mission was too simple, and the reward was so generous. It was simply a free gift. The mission system was divided into normal missions and random missions. There were all kinds of normal missions, and after completing them, there would be generous rewards. For example, Yi Xian could accept a few normal missions, but the reward was only a dozen blood rocks. Even a high-level mission would only give him 50 blood rocks for revenge. He might as well mine them himself. How do I use this devour point? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Now he had a lot of options. First, add the devour point to the Gemini bloodline. The Gemini bloodline dual fusion strength by 20%, and triple fusion by 30%. If he advanced bloodline, the bloodline fusion, and the bloodline would become 40%. Secondly, he would keep them for later use. After the devouring system was upgraded, the devouring points could not only be used to upgrade his bloodline, but also to upgrade items and exchange for items. Leveling up Wei Zhentian and Luo Luo requires more than 1 devour points. Even if I exchange them, I won't be able to get anything useful at the moment. Bloodline become bloodline. His bloodline. T. Bloodline. His gaze fell on the 3 Blood Rock sect disciples as he thought to himself, originally, I didn't want to use such despicable means, but if I want to go to the Glazed Light Holy Land, I can only apologize to you. Then, he used the Eye of Control on the 3 Bloodstone sect disciples. Under the dual fusion state, his strength had increased by 30%. His Heavenly Eye race bloodline had also evolved 3 times, and the effect was very strong. Therefore, these 3 Blood Rock sect disciples of the same level as Yi Xian were all easily controlled by him. He could control 20 people with the Eye of Control, so he didn't care about the 3 of them. Once he finished using them, he would let Luo Luo charm them. That way no one would know. Give me your interspatial rings. Yi Xian ordered the 3 of them. At this time, the group of servant disciples had all run away. Only he and the 3 Blood Rock sect disciples were present, so nothing would happen. Yi Xian took the 3's wealth, including the Bloodstone Spider King's corpse and the Saint Beast's soul. There are 300 pieces of bloodstone in the 3 interspatial rings. Adding the other things, there's about 500. Yi Xian didn't hold back at all as he swallowed everything, then returned the universe ring to them. In fact, they still had some interspatial rings for other disciples. There were more than 100 pieces of bloodstone in them. They were to be handed over to the Bloodstone sect, so Yi Xian didn't dare to touch them. Do the 3 of you have any more wealth? Yi Xian asked. Yes. The 3 disciples nodded. Good. Give me everything when you change shifts, Yi Xian said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a person suddenly appeared above the Blood Rock mine. What's going on? The voice of an old man rang out. Yi Xian turned around and found that he knew the person. It was the red-clothed elder who had brought him to the Bloodstone sect that day. Lord Deacon, a servant disciple dug up the Bloodstone spider's nest, but it's been dealt with now. A Bloodstone sect disciple answered. Very good. How are the casualties? The red-clothed deacon asked. Our initial estimate is that there are 40 servant disciples, the disciple replied. It's all right. Not too many. The red-clothed deacon nodded. There were more than 10,000 servant disciples in the Bloodstone sect, so it wasn't a big deal for 40 to die. After all, these disciples had voluntarily come to mine the Bloodstone mine. At this moment, the red-clothed deacon suddenly felt that something was wrong. He looked at Yi Xian and found that Yi Xian was wearing the uniform of a servant disciple. It's you? The red-clothed deacon recognized Yi Xian, but when he felt Yi Xian's aura, he was shocked. Second-grade human body disaster. In less than a month, he had broken through from the 9th Tribulation Supreme Realm to the second-grade human body disaster. This shouldn't happen to a servant disciple. Brat, how have you been cultivating recently? The red-clothed deacon asked. Lord Deacon, I had a fortuitous encounter and ate a heavenly treasure. Previously, the medicinal energy had accumulated, and it was only after breaking through to the first-grade human body disaster that I was able to completely refine it. Yi Xian casually made up a lie. So that's how it is. Then you can be promoted to an ordinary disciple and no longer need to mine the Bloodstone mine. Come with me, the red-clothed deacon said with good intentions. However, Yi Xian helplessly said in his heart, what a tragedy. Are they trying to force me to be promoted to an ordinary disciple? If I continue to stay here, they will definitely be suspicious. Therefore, he could only agree. In fact, it didn't matter. After all, official disciples could also come to the Bloodstone mine and mine the Bloodstone mine. It was just that they would be in charge. Of course, there would be restrictions on mining. If they were reported, they would be punished. Chapter 945. Soon, the red-clothed deacon registered Yi Xian. From then on, Yi Xian was an ordinary disciple of the Blood Rock sect. However, before that, Yi Xian accepted a mission. Ding! Host has completed the Become an Ordinary Disciple of the Blood Rock Sect mission. The reward is a stalk of origin opening grass. After he received the identity token, he heard a system notification sound. The origin opening grass was only a heaven and earth treasure. It wasn't very precious. One stalk could be sold for 20 blood rocks in the alchemy hall of the Blood Rock sect. Yi Xian, from today onwards, you are an ordinary disciple of the Blood Rock sect. However, your cultivation level is still too low. If you want to earn more heaven and earth treasures, you can accept missions to kill blood rock spiders, the red-clothed deacon said to Yi Xian. Thank you for your guidance, deacon, Yi Xian said gratefully. Then, the red-clothed deacon left. Damn it! Looking at the departing figure, Yi Xian revealed a melancholy expression. He knew that the red-clothed deacon had good intentions, but it wasn't a good thing for him. The blood rock mine had just been opened, so there were still many blood rocks available. If he was only an odd-job disciple, he could mine without restrictions. However, now that he was an ordinary disciple, he could only apply to guard the mine. Once the blood rock spider tide broke out, he would have to take action. At that moment, Yi Xian checked the mission system. In the Blood Rock sect, there were quite a few missions that required one to guard the mines. With his current realm, the wages for guarding the mines were calculated by the day, and he could earn 10 blood rocks a day. The Blood Rock Sect's Alchemy Hall also had missions to guard the mines. Therefore, if Yi Xian went to guard the mines for a day, he would be able to obtain 20 blood rocks. However, this speed was not as fast as when he was in the previous mine. One had to know that he could mine 600 blood rocks a day, but the reward for guarding the mines for a day was only 20 blood rocks. It was really pitiful. There's a cleanup mission? Yi Xian discovered that after he became an ordinary disciple, there were new missions in his mission system. The cleanup mission was to clean up the Blood Rock spiders. Many of the Blood Rock mines around the Blood Rock sect had experienced a Blood Rock spider tide, but they were sealed by the Blood Rock sect's experts. The Blood Rock spiders could accelerate the solidification of the Blood Rock spiders, so the experts didn't directly clean up them. Instead, they chose to seal the Blood Rock mines. Mining the Blood Rock could yield 600 pieces a day, but if he were to kill the Blood Rock spiders, he would get more than 600 Blood Rock spider corpses a day. Haha, it turns out, becoming an ordinary disciple is on, said Yi Xian disciples. Immediately, Blood Sect's Alchemy disciple. Junior apprentice brother. You are at the second stage of human body disaster. The missions you can accept are here. A Blood Rock sect disciple handed over a small booklet. Number 666 Blood Rock Mine. There are estimated to be 1,300 Blood Rock spiders, and 100 of them comparable to second-stage human body disaster. Number 871 Blood Rock Mine. There are estimated to be 800 Blood Rock spiders, and 100 of them comparable to second-stage human body disaster. Number 430 Blood Rock Mine. There are estimated to be 400 Blood Rock spiders comparable to second-stage human body disaster, and 50 of them comparable to third-stage human body disaster. Yi Xian swept his eyes over the list. He was at second-stage human body disaster, so he could only accept missions of the same level, as well as missions of a higher level. These missions all had time limits, and a certain amount of blood rock was required to accept the missions. Senior brother, I want to accept the mission of number 666 Blood Rock Mine, said Yi Xian. The Blood Rock sect disciple swept his eyes over the list, and said in shock, Junior brother, the difficulty of this mission is not small. Furthermore, you have to clear them all within a day. Are you sure you can complete it? I'll give it a try. Yi Xian nodded his head. Those 1,000 Blood Rock spiders of first-stage human body disaster did not pose any threat to him. Even those 100 Blood Rock spiders of second-stage human body disaster were the same. The only reason he accepted this mission was because the number of this Blood Rock mine was very auspicious. 666. Alright, you need 500 Blood Rocks to accept this mission. The Blood Rock sect disciple did not say anything else, and directly stretched out his hand. The original Blood Rocks had already been completely swallowed by Yi Xian, but when he came to the training hall to accept this mission, he first went to Luo to get 1,000 Blood Rocks. The sword-shaped stone was given to her master by Luo, and he obtained 50,000 Blood Rocks. Yi Xian gave all of these Blood Rocks to Luo. Although he could use these 50,000 Blood Rocks to break through, he still had to think about Luo. After all, Luo was only 15 years old. If Luolua's aptitude exploded, she would be fancied by the sect master of the Blood Rock sect and be heavily nurtured. At that time, would there be any need to worry about not having enough heavenly treasures? It must be known that Luolua's master still had more than 10 disciples, and Luo still had not made a name for herself yet. Yi Xian took the 500 Blood Rocks and accepted the mission for this number 666 mine. Alright, the mission requirement is to exterminate at least 1,000 Blood Rock spiders at first layer human body disaster, as well as 50 Blood Rock spiders at second layer human body disaster, and bring them back. The extra ones will be yours. If the mission is completed, the 500 Blood Rocks will be returned. If not, the Blood Rock spiders' corpses will be confiscated as well. The Blood Rock sect disciple said. Yi Xian also understood that the mission required the Blood Rock spiders' corpses. He could not be greedy, but he could kill more. As long as he killed all the Blood Rock spiders in the mine, he would be able to obtain at least 300 Blood Rock spiders at first layer human body disaster, as well as 50 Blood Rock spiders at second layer human body disaster. At the same time, he would also return the 500 Blood Rocks, as well as the rewards from the training hall and the mission system. This mission was still profitable for the average person, but there were too many Blood Rock spiders inside. If one did not have the ability to enter, it would just be a waste of time. When the time came, not only would he lose the Blood Rocks, he would also lose his life. This is the map for number 666 Blood Rock Mine. You have half a day to hurry. If you do not return in 2 days to hand in the mission, it will be considered a mission failure. The Blood Rock sect disciple from the training hall reminded him. If the mission failed, there would be experts who would go in to count the number of Blood Rock spiders. How many were missing would have to be replaced by how many corpses, resulting in a loss of 500 Blood Rocks. All right. Yi Xian nodded. He immediately received the mission order and left the training hall. Half a day's journey was enough for a second-layer human body disaster disciple to arrive at number 666 Blood Rock Mine. However, Yi Xian was not an ordinary disciple. Although Yi Xian was only at second-layer human body disaster, he had 8 agility advancements. In less than 3 hours, Yi Xian arrived at number 666 Blood Rock Mine. Who are you? Chapter 946. Lord Deacon, I've accepted a mission to clear out the spiders. Yi Xian replied and threw the mission token over. It seems that you're quite strong to accept this mission. You should know the number of spiders below. You have 1 day. If you don't come up after 1 day, the mission will be considered a failure and you'll have to hand over your gains. The deacon said. Understood. Yi Xian nodded and scanned the deacon with his eye of revelation. He couldn't see through the deacon. I heard that the deacon of the Blood Rock sect is at least a 6-stage human body disaster. If every mine has such an expert. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva. In the small booklet that he had flipped through before, there were over 1,000 missions related to the Blood Rock mines. If every single mine had a deacon, wouldn't that mean that there would be over 1,000 6-stage human body disaster experts? The most important thing was that the Blood Rock sect was not ranked high in the Holy Land. It was just an unrated sect. The Red Deacon brought Yi Xian to a Blood Rock mine that was surrounded by an array. This was the 666th Blood Rock Mine. I'll open the array in a moment. You'll go in immediately. I'll keep watch here. If you want to come out, inform me, the Red Deacon said. Yi Xian nodded silently. In the next moment, the array was broken, and he quickly rushed in. The Blood Rock Mine was tens of thousands of meters underground, so he kept falling. However, the Blood Rock spiders liked to stay near the Blood Rock crystal wall, so there were usually no Blood Rock spiders near the mine. Soon, Yi Xian landed in the Blood Rock mine. As soon as he landed, there were already hundreds of Blood Rock spiders within the range of his eye of perception. Come! Yi Xian's eyes flashed, and he instantly summoned his doppelganger and Wei Zhentian. He took out a supreme spiritual treasure that he had exchanged for in the exchange system. This supreme spiritual treasure was several times better than the shadowless sword. Wei Zhentian immediately turned into a cannon and began to wildly shoot at the surrounding Blood Rock spiders. Although it had been refined into a treasure, Wei Zhentian didn't lose its transformation ability. Instead, its attack power became even stronger. Yi Xian was at the same level as it, and with his doppelganger, their killing speed was very fast. Swish! Boom! A series of explosions rang out in the Blood Rock mine. When the Red Deacon outside heard the sounds, he nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. No wonder he dared to jump down directly. He seems to be very strong. Because the Blood Rock mine always emitted a red light, he could not see the scene below and could only listen with his ears. Less than 10 seconds after Yi Xian landed, the surrounding group of Blood Rock spiders had been completely wiped out. 300 corpses. Awesome. Yi Xian cleaned up the battlefield. With Wei Zhentian and his doppelganger, his killing speed was very fast. He estimated that with his ability, he would need less than 10 minutes to clean up the entire Blood Rock mine. At that time, he would have at least 300 corpses of first-stage human body disaster and 50 corpses of second-stage human body disaster Blood Rock spiders. As for the reward from the training hall, it was 500 pieces of Blood Rock. The reward from the mission system was about the same, with a value of around 500 pieces of Blood Rock. This was much faster than mining the Blood Rock himself. When ordinary disciples did a cleanup mission, they would slowly descend, fearing that they would be ambushed by the Blood Rock spiders hidden in the walls. But Yi Xian had the perceptive eye, which was like a radar function. After Yi Xian landed, he could sense the movements of nearly half of the Blood Rock mine. Most importantly, this sensing range was centered around him. As he moved, this sensing range would also continue to move. Therefore, the Blood Rock spider's ambush was useless against him. 400. 500. 600. As Yi Xian killed, he counted the number of spiders. At this time, he was moving separately from his doppelganger, and so was Wei Zhentian. A minute after he entered the Blood Rock mine. This Blood Rock spider is bigger than the others. It seems to be a second-stage human body disaster. Yi Xian suddenly sensed that something was wrong with one of the Blood Rock spiders, so he immediately charged over. The rank of the Blood Rock spiders was relatively easy to distinguish. It was based on their size. At this time, the Blood Rock spider in front of Yi Xian was a second-stage human body disaster. It was a size bigger than a first-stage human body disaster. Hiss! When this Blood Rock spider saw Yi Xian, its 6 large eyes turned and landed on Yi Xian. Yi Xian hated centipedes, spiders, and other creatures with many legs the most, so he directly attacked. Cold Sky Slash. A slash broke through the air. Rip! This Blood Rock spider was directly cut in half, and cold air was emitting from the wound. This was what Yi Xian obtained from the 3 Blood Rock sect disciples. It was a low-grade transcendent supreme martial art. Although he hadn't fully mastered it, its power was several times stronger than the flowing shadow sword. A transcendent sovereign martial art is just a transition. The 3 small disasters of sovereign rely on sword force, but even after so long, I still haven't been able to comprehend sword force. If only I had a medium sword-shaped stone. Yi Xian thought for a while, then walked over and collected the Blood Rock spider's corpse. If he comprehended sword force, it wouldn't matter even if he used an ordinary supreme martial art. However, sword force wasn't that easy to comprehend. It was said that no one in the Blood Rock sect's outer sect had comprehended it. Fortunately, there was something called Sword Comprehension Pill in the devouring system that could accelerate the comprehension of sword force. When he had enough transcendent devouring crystals, Yi Xian went to exchange for them. Then, Yi Xian continued his slaughter. Under the 3-pronged attack, all the Blood Rock spiders were killed in less than 5 minutes. There were a total of 1,400 first-grade human body disaster Blood Rock spiders and 62nd-grade human body disaster Blood Rock spiders, which was a bit more than what the training hall had estimated. The mission was to hand in 1,000 first-grade human body disaster spiders and 52nd-grade human body disaster spiders. As for the rest, they belonged to Yi Xian. Ding! Host has completed the mission to clear out the Blood Rock mine. 3 source-expelling pills have been obtained. After Yi Xian killed the last Blood Rock spider, the system gave him a notification. There was a benefit to the mission system. As long as the mission was completed, the reward would be directly given to Yi Xian. As for the training hall's mission, Yi Xian had to hand it in himself. 3 source-expelling pills. Devour all of them. These 3 source-expelling pills could be bought in the Blood Rock sect's alchemy hall for roughly 500 Blood Rocks. Yi Xian didn't say anything and directly devoured them. Soon after, several transcendent devouring crystals appeared. At the same time, a silvery bell-like voice rang out in his mind. Young master, I've broken through. I'm now at first-grade human body disaster. This was Luolua's voice. Very good. Continue to work hard. Chapter 947. Very good. Continue to work hard. Hearing the news of Luolua's breakthrough, Yi Xian nodded his head in satisfaction. The reason why he didn't take the 50,000 Blood Rocks was because the exchange system was based on his realm. However, as a second-stage human body disaster, he wasn't able to exchange for anything good. However, Luoluo could take the Blood Rocks to Blood Rock Sect's alchemy hall and buy cultivation resources for 4th or 5th stage human body disaster. Otherwise, why would Yi Xian be so stupid as to give all the Blood Rocks to Luoluo instead of swallowing them himself and exchanging them for pills for Luoluo's cultivation? Yes, after breaking through, my refining speed has increased by a lot. I'm confident that I can break through to 3rd stage human body disaster within a month. Luoluo replied. If Luoluo could break through to 3rd stage human body disaster in less than 2 months after entering Blood Rock sect, her aptitude would definitely make Luolua's master look at her in a new light. At that time, Luolua's master might even nurture Luoluo with all her strength. At that time, she wouldn't lack cultivation resources. Now, Yi Xian had already completed the task of clearing out the spiders. However, if he were to go up now, it would be hard to explain. Even a 3rd stage human body disaster expert wouldn't be able to clear out all the Blood Rock spiders in this Blood Rock mine within 10 minutes. If it was a 2nd stage human body disaster expert, Even an expert of the same level would need at least several hours. After all, one's true chi and physical strength weren't limitless. Therefore, he simply dug for 2 hours at the bottom of the blood rock. With 10,000 swords returning to origin, he directly collected more than 200 blood rocks, which could be considered a pretty good harvest. After 2 hours, he finally arrived at the entrance of the blood rock mine. "You're out? How was it?" the deacon asked. "Lord Deacon, all the blood rock spiders below have been cleared out by me. Not a single one is left," Yi Xian replied. The red-robed deacon was astonished for a moment, before saying, "To clear out this mine in 2 hours, I'm afraid that your strength is around third-stage human body disaster." "Thank you for your praise, Lord Deacon." Yi Xian thanked him, but he was ridiculing him in his heart. Third-stage human body disaster? What a joke. If he were to go all out, even a fourth-grade human body disaster expert would have to temporarily avoid him. Then, the Red Deacon went down to check. As expected, there was not a single blood rock spider in the blood rock mine. "Very good, the mission is complete. Give me the specified corpse." The Red Deacon nodded in satisfaction. Then, Yi Xian handed him the corpses of 1,050 blood rock spiders. "The quantity is correct. Mission complete." The red-clothed deacon gave Yi Xian another command medallion with the number 666 engraved on it. As long as Yi Xian returned with his command medallion, in addition to obtaining the first 500 blood rocks, he would also obtain another 500 blood rocks as a reward. Yi Xian thanked him and left. Now that the danger of the number 666 blood rock mine had been resolved, there would be many odd job disciples coming to mine the blood rock. As for Yi Xian, after leaving, he immediately used the Eyes of the Void. A void gate appeared and Yi Xian passed through it, returning to his residence in the Blood Rock sect. For others, it would take half a day to go and half a day to return. Including the cleanup mission, it would take at least a day. But for me, it only took a little more than 2 hours. If I were to hand in the mission now, it would be too ridiculous. Although Yi Xian thought so in his heart, he still walked towards the experience hall. After all, this was his strength. Could it be that the token was fake? "Senior brother, I'm here to hand in the mission." Yi Xian walked into the training hall and said to the Blood Rock sect disciple. When the Blood Rock sect disciple saw Yi Xian, his eyebrows raised. "It's you? What mission are you here to hand in?" Yi Xian did not waste time and directly handed over the token. "Number 666 mine? How is that possible? You just took it." The Blood Rock sect disciple was shocked. "Hee, if senior brother does not believe me, you can check the token to see if it's real," Yi Xian said with a smile. Even if he did not say so, the Blood Rock sect disciple would have checked it. However, after checking it 5 times, the Blood Rock sect disciple found that the token was indeed real. 3 hours. An ordinary disciple would probably still be on the way, but Yi Xian had already returned. No one would believe this. However, the token was real, so what could he say? Soon, the Blood Rock sect disciple took out 500 blood rocks. These were the ones Yi Xian had placed here when he accepted the mission. There were also 500 blood rocks as a reward. If the mission was not completed, these 500 blood rocks would belong to the training hall. At the same time, the corpses of the blood rock spiders would be taken away by the deacons guarding the mine. "Thank you, senior brother. I want to continue accepting missions," Yi Xian replied. "All right, take a look." The Blood Rock sect disciple was still in a daze. After crossing out the mission of number 666 mine, he handed the booklet to Yi Xian. Yi Xian skimmed through it. "Right now, I still can't afford the sword comprehension pill. I'm afraid that I still need to complete a few missions. Why don't I accept a more difficult one?" Yi Xian thought for a while, then accepted another mission. This time, he accepted a 3-star mission that corresponded to third-grade human body disaster. "Junior brother, are you sure you want to accept this mission?" the Blood Rock sect disciple asked in shock. "Yes." Yi Xian nodded. The mission he accepted this time was estimated to require 2,000 blood rock spiders. Among them, there were 1,500 first-grade human body disaster, 400 second-grade human body disaster, and 100 third-grade human body disaster. This mission was the most difficult of the 3-star missions. As for him, he was only at second-grade human body disaster. To accept the mission, you need 1,000 blood rocks. After the Blood Rock sect disciple finished speaking, Yi Xian directly took out 1,000 blood rocks. The mission's time limit is 1.5 days. You have 1 day to hurry, which is 2.5 days. To complete the mission, you need 202nd grade human body disaster and 53rd grade human body disaster blood rock spider corpses. The Blood Rock sect disciple reminded. Understood. After answering, Yi Xian directly left the training hall. There were several thousand outer disciples in the Blood Rock sect. At this time, there were several dozen people in the training hall. After Yi Xian left, they began to secretly discuss. That brat, could it be that he and some deacon? That's for sure. Otherwise, how could he complete a cleanup mission in such a short time? That's not necessarily true. Didn't you see that he accepted the most difficult mission of the 3-star missions? Even I don't have the confidence to complete that mission. The one who spoke was a disciple who was about to break through to 4th grade human body disaster. Since he completed it so quickly, there will definitely be an elder who went to investigate. If the mission was not completed and that deacon gave him the mission token, he will definitely be punished. But, how did he go back and forth in a few hours? Could it be that the token was already in his hands? Yes, that must be the case. The mission must have been completed by that deacon. He must have gotten the token long ago. But, if it was fake, there was no need to be so obvious, right? The surrounding disciples were also unable to understand. If he really cheated and colluded with Deacon 666, why didn't he come back a day later? Chapter 948. After leaving the Hall of Experience, Yi Xian set off once again. This time, the difficulty of the mission is 10 times higher than before, but the rewards are also very generous. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. After completing the Hall of Experience's mission, one could obtain 2,000 blood rocks and the corpses of those blood rock spiders. However, the mission system's reward was a large amount of Super Devour crystals, enough for Yi Xian's sword comprehension pellet. Not only that, after this mission, the corpses of the blood rock spiders should be enough for one Beast King rampage. The sacred beast souls of those blood rock spiders had all been devoured by Yi Xian, and his cultivation had increased by a lot. At the same time, one should not forget that the beast god bloodline had an advancement path of devouring benefits. Currently at level 5, as long as one devoured corpses or sacred beast souls, their benefits would increase by 50%. Yi Xian estimated that if all the corpses were given to him this time, he would be able to break through to level 3 human body disaster. The mission this time was relatively far away, so Yi Xian spent more than 4 hours to arrive. After seeing Yi Xian, the deacon guarding the blood rock mine said in astonishment, Why is it only level 2 human body disaster? Yi Xian had long expected the deacon to be puzzled by his realm, but he was too lazy to explain and directly handed the mission order over. You dare to accept the most difficult of the 3-star missions. It seems you have some ability. The deacon squinted his eyes and nodded slightly. Speaking of which, the people of the Holy Land had a different vision. If it was on the Blood Rock continent, most people would look at Yi Xian with mocking gazes before mocking him. Idiot, to accept a mission with a mere 2nd level of fleshly body disaster, you really overestimate yourself. Hurry up and scram. However, the deacon did not say that. After all, there were countless geniuses in the Holy Land. There were even supreme being geniuses who comprehended sword force, so what was this? All right, I will open the array. You can go. The mission time is 1.5 days. The deacon directly opened the array, and Yi Xian entered. After entering, Yi Xian quickly descended as before, and the red light instantly engulfed his body. This time, the blood rock mine was much larger than before. After Yi Xian landed, he only sensed 100 blood rock spiders. However, among these 100, there was a blood rock spider at 2nd grade human body disaster. First clone, Wei Zhentian. Yi Xian quickly summoned his clone and Wei Zhentian. After Wei Zhentian appeared, he quickly changed. This time, he actually turned into a small fighter jet. He sure has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Yi Xian grumbled in his heart as he dashed out. This mission was the most difficult of the 3-star missions, but Yi Xian didn't think much of it. Cold Sky Slash. Yi Xian could easily kill one or several bloodstone spiders with a single slash of his sword. Ding! The proficiency of Cold Sky Slash has increased. Current proficiency is at 70%. Ding! Cold Sky Slash's proficiency level has increased. It is now at 80%. Ding! Cold Sky Slash's proficiency level has increased. It is now at 90%. 10 minutes later, Yi Xian's Cold Sky Slash had reached 90% proficiency. At the same time, his main body had killed nearly 500 blood rock spiders. However, almost all of them were first-grade human body disaster blood rock spiders. The following path would be much more dangerous because they were all second-grade human body disaster blood rock spiders. There might even be third-grade human body disaster blood rock spiders. Cold Sky Slash. Cold Sky Slash. Cold Sky Slash. Yi Xian kept killing the blood rock spiders. He estimated that in another 5 minutes, he would be able to clear out the entire blood rock mine. It had to be said that exchanging for the divine tree of life was a wise choice. Cold Sky Slash. Pang! A third-grade human body disaster blood rock spider was sent flying by Yi Xian. In the depths of the blood rock mine, there were practically third-grade human body disaster blood rock spiders. The defensive power of the blood rock spiders was already astonishing, so Yi Xian's Cold Sky Slash was unable to kill them in one go. After all, he only had an ordinary supreme spiritual treasure. Helpless, Yi Xian could only use his trump card. Eye of Nirvana. Eye of Dissection. Yi Xian used both of his ultimate moves, but in terms of effect, the Eye of Dissection was even more powerful than the Eye of Nirvana. A third-grade human body disaster blood rock spider only needed a single use of the Eye of Dissection to completely disintegrate its body, leaving behind only a sacred beast soul. F***CK. I forgot. Yi Xian cursed inwardly. He was going to collect the corpses. If he disintegrated the corpses, what was the point of collecting them? Therefore, he could only use the Eye of Nirvana to harvest them. Fortunately, he had already exchanged for the third grade of the Divine Eye chapter. The upper limit of his eye power and the recovery speed of his eye power had increased by a lot. It would not be a problem for him to deal with all the blood rock spiders in the mine. However, at this moment... What a big one. Could it be the Blood Rock Spider King? Yi Xian's eyebrows suddenly jumped as he thought to himself. The Blood Rock sex estimates were not necessarily accurate. This meant that he had an additional source of income. Immediately, he rushed in the direction of the Blood Rock Spider King. When he saw the huge Blood Rock Spider, he was certain that this was the Blood Rock Spider King, which was comparable to a fourth-grade human body disaster. The Blood Rock Spider King's realm was not fixed. It was possible for a Blood Rock Spider to give birth to a king. At the same time, this king would be stronger than other Blood Rock Spiders of the same level. Even if a fourth-grade human body disaster Blood Rock sect disciple was here, he might not be able to break through its defenses and might even be devoured. At this moment, the Blood Rock Spider King pounced at Yi Xian. Cold Sky Slash. Yi Xian slashed out with his sword, but unexpectedly, he was unable to break through the Blood Rock Spider King's defenses. Since he could not break through, he would use his trump card. Eye of Nirvana. A silver light flashed. Pang! A rumbling sound echoed throughout the mine. The Blood Rock Spider King could not block this attack and was sent flying. What a strong defense. I actually only managed to shatter its shell. Yi Xian was a little surprised. However, the Eye of Nirvana was not his strongest attack at this moment. When he discovered the Blood Rock Spider King, he had already sent his doppelganger and Wei Zhentian over. The Blood Rock Spider King stabilized its body and immediately charged at Yi Xian. Eye of Nirvana. Eye of Nirvana. Yi Xian used the Eye of Nirvana twice and sent it flying again. At the same time, his doppelganger and Wei Zhentian also arrived. Merge. The two Yi Xian flashed and merged into one. His strength instantly increased by 30%. At the same time, Wei Zhentian turned into the sky-shaking sword. However, he had wasted 10,000 swords in the previous mine. Chapter 949. Cold Sky Slash. Eye of Nirvana. After merging, Yi Xian's strength increased sharply. With the addition of the Skyquake sword, his attacks were able to break through the defense. Not only that, but the Eye of Nirvana, which had increased its power by 30%, caused the Bloodstone Spider King to hiss. In less than 10 seconds, the Bloodstone Spider King fell to the ground, its magma-like blood flowing all over the ground. At the same time, Yi Xian's eye power was also depleted. It's finally settled. If I didn't have the Skyquake sword, it would have been difficult to deal with it. Yi Xian sighed in relief. He had used all his eye power to use the Eye of Nirvana, so he was still unable to kill the Bloodstone Spider King. Fortunately, he had the Skyquake Sword, which allowed Yi Xian's attack to barely break through its defense. After the Bloodstone Spider King died, Yi Xian walked over and collected its corpse. Then, he directly devoured the sacred beast soul. Ding! Host has broken through. Current level is 3rd grade human body disaster. The long-awaited system notification finally rang out. The value of this sacred beast soul at 4th grade human body disaster was probably higher than all the bloodstone spiders in the mine added together. Now, he could already use the sword comprehension pill. However, he still had to clean up the entire mine first. Ding! Host has completed the Bloodstone Mine quest. The reward for this quest was a large amount of super devouring crystals, but Yi Xian had already exchanged them for the sword comprehension pill. There was still some time before the quest was completed, so Yi Xian simply sat down cross-legged. Not only that, but his second doppelganger in the eastern continent also did the same. He had already recorded the sword-shaped stone, so his second doppelganger was constantly comprehending it. Now, with 3 doppelganger comprehending at the same time and 1 sword comprehension pill, he might be able to comprehend sword force. As for Wei Zhentian, he went to mine the bloodstone spiders by himself. After all, he relied on ores to level up. Time passed bit by bit. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Yi Xian sat there for 7 hours. The sword comprehension pill could allow him to comprehend sword force faster. But don't forget that there was a connection between his original body and his 2 doppelganger. This sword comprehension pill was equivalent to having 3 times the effect. Finally, at the 8th hour. Ding! The 95% sword intent has transformed into 100% sword intent. The host has comprehended sword force. The host is now at nuance stage. The system notification sounded. After hearing this notification, Yi Xian couldn't help but tremble. He actually comprehended it? He did not expect that a single sword comprehension pill would allow him to comprehend sword force. Originally, he did not hold much hope and had only exchanged for 1 pill to try. He estimated that he would need to exchange for at least a few dozen of them and use them consecutively before he could comprehend the sword force. Who would have thought that a single pill would be enough? Right, the original body and the 2 doppelgangers also have an effect. My 1 sword comprehension pill is equivalent to 3 pills. No, it shouldn't be 3 pills, but 3 times the effect. Yi Xian raised an eyebrow. 1 sword comprehension pill lasted for 12 hours. Previously, he thought that if he took 1, it would be equivalent to 36 hours of comprehension. But now, it seemed that the effect had increased by 3 times, and not the duration. This was the same as the Sword God Bloodline's comprehension of sword skills. With an increase of 10%, the comprehension ability would be several times greater than before. Haha, the Gemini Bloodline is really awesome. Yi Xian couldn't help but laugh loudly. Comprehending nuance stage sword force at 3rd grade human body disaster. Even if he only used a tree branch now, his realm would still be at 2nd grade human body disaster. He would probably be able to kill that Bloodrock Spider King just now. He immediately stood up, took out an ordinary supreme divine weapon, and lightly slashed at the stone wall in front of him. This slash didn't use anything, just a pure attack of true chi. Xiao! The sword chi entered the stone wall, instantly creating a 100-meter deep crack. The current me should be able to instantly kill a 5th grade human body disaster expert. Even a 6th grade human body disaster expert wouldn't dare to be careless when facing this slash. Yi Xian thought inwardly. Of course, if he were to use martial arts and heaven-shaking sword, even a 6th grade human body disaster expert wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from him. However, after learning sword force, he needed to know how to conceal it. After all, this was a trump card. Comprehending nuance stage sword force at 3rd grade human body disaster. This has never happened in the entire history of the Bloodrock sect, right? Yi Xian's confidence suddenly exploded, but he didn't want to reveal it, because there were many people in this world who were envious of him. It was inevitable that there would be a few people with extremely twisted minds. If he were to be envied by some expert, then he would have died unjustly. Therefore, unless absolutely necessary, it was best not to reveal sword force. There was still half a day left for the mission, but Yi Xian didn't want to continue staying down there, so he directly returned to the cave entrance. Coming out to recover? The deacon on guard asked in astonishment. No, Lord Deacon, I have already exterminated all of the blood rock spiders inside. These are the corpses required for the mission. Yi Xian had already placed the required items in a universe ring, and handed it over. What? The deacon took the universe ring in shock. Sure enough, the number was correct. In the universe ring, there were a total of 202nd grade human body disaster and 53rd grade human body disaster blood rock spider corpses. The deacon's eyes lit up, and he looked at Yi Xian with a hint of appreciation. So it was a breakthrough. The deacon discovered that Yi Xian's aura had already reached 3rd grade human body disaster, so he calmed down. However, he still went down to check, and sure enough, there wasn't a single blood rock spider left. Mission complete. This is the proof of the mission. The deacon handed the items to Yi Xian. After thanking him, Yi Xian directly left. After disappearing from the deacon's sight, he directly broke through the void and returned to the Blood Rock sect. Then, he headed for the training hall. It had only been half a day since he turned in the last mission, and now he was here to turn in another one. If the people in the training hall were still the same batch from this morning, they would probably be scared to death. Senior brother, I'm here to turn in the mission, Yi Xian said as he handed over the proof of the completion of the mission, which was a token. You again? The Blood Rock sect disciple was shocked. He took the mission token and carefully checked it several times, and found that it was real. You really completed it? The Blood Rock sect disciple didn't dare to believe it, and asked with a shocked expression. Junior brother, I just happened to break through, Yi Xian said with a smile. At this time, the Blood Rock sect disciple discovered that Yi Xian had already broken through to 3rd grade human body disaster. Chapter 950. After Yi Xian left, the Blood Rock sect disciple thought about it carefully and muttered, This won't do. There's definitely something strange about this. I have to inform the elders. Completing 2 missions in a single day was too unreal. Yi Xian saw his expression and decided not to accept any missions for the time being. However, not long after he left the training hall, a few people came up to him. Yi Xian saw that these people were not weak and were at least 4th grade human body disaster, so he retreated. However, what he didn't expect was that these people were actually heading straight for them. There were a total of 3 people. You're Yi Xian, a long-haired youth said coldly. Yi Xian was very surprised because he did not have any friends in the Blood Rock sect and only knew Luo Luo. But why would they come for him? That's right. Senior brother, what's the matter? Yi Xian nodded. However, he could already feel the hostility of these 3 people. These 3 people probably did not come with good intentions. Seeing Yi Xian admit it, the long-haired youth narrowed his eyes and went straight to the point. What's your relationship with senior sister Luo Luo? Luo Luo? Hearing this name, Yi Xian was a little surprised. Why should I answer you? Yi Xian retorted. He saw that these 3 people were here to cause trouble, so he did not have a good expression. How dare you? Before the long-haired youth could speak, one of the people behind him stepped forward, wanting to teach Yi Xian a lesson. However, when he was about to make a move, he remembered the rules of the Blood Rock sect and stopped. You better answer my question. Otherwise, you won't be able to stay in the Blood Rock sect for long. The long-haired youth said with a cold gaze. I'll wait and see. Yi Xian sneered and turned to leave. He already knew why these people were looking for him. Just now, he had talked to Luo Luo, and she had said that some senior brothers had been looking for her recently. It seemed that those senior brothers from the inner sect wanted to pursue Luo Luo, and the 3 people in front of him should be the lackeys of some senior brother from the inner sect. You want to leave? The long-haired youth's eyes flickered as he quickly blocked Yi Xian's path. What? You want to fight? Yi Xian did not care at all. Although he was only at the 3rd level of human body disaster, the long-haired youth in front of him was at the 5th level of human body disaster, while the other 2 were at the 4th level of human body disaster. However, he was not afraid of him at all. If he made a move, the 3 of them would most likely be instantly killed by him. When the other 2 saw Yi Xian's fearless expression, they also cast a glance at the long-haired youth. What are you afraid of? Capture him and bring him to senior brother Gua. The long-haired youth shouted. At the thought of having their senior brother Gua backing them up, the other 2 immediately made their move. They patted Yi Xian's shoulders from both sides, preparing to forcefully take Yi Xian away. However, at this moment, Burning Eye! Burning Eye! Yi Xian's eyes quickly flickered twice as the hands of the two stopped. Immediately after, the two of them were instantly controlled by Yi Xian. They were only a realm higher than Yi Xian, while Yi Xian's Heavenly Eye God clan bloodline had evolved 3 times. In addition to his original bloodline, his bloodline was at the 4th level. He did not even want to move his hands against 2 mere 4th-level human body disaster. After the two of them were controlled, they suddenly stopped, turned around, and punched at the long-haired youth. What? The long-haired youth was shocked. He did not expect that his 2 lackeys would suddenly attack him. What was going on? Bang! Bang! 2 fists smashed into the long-haired youth's shoulders like 2 meteors, sending him flying. This scene happened too suddenly. Not only did the long-haired youth not expect it, even the surrounding disciples who were watching the show did not expect it. 2 dogs suddenly pounced at their owner. What was going on? The long-haired youth quickly crossed his legs and stabilized his body. At the same time he shouted, "What are you doing?" "Senior Brother Zhao, I'm sorry. You don't treat us as humans. We don't want to listen to your orders anymore," the slightly plump disciple said. "What did you say?" The long-haired youth was momentarily confused. Was this a joke? He had always taken care of his 2 lackeys. When did he not treat them as humans? "Correct your errors." "Not bad." Yi Xian, who was standing behind him, revealed a faint smile before leaving. The long-haired youth raised his eyebrows and said, "Trash. What did you do to them?" "Senior Brother Zhao, what do you mean by that?" Yi Xian suddenly revealed an innocent look and asked in return, "Did you cultivate a martial art that controls others and control them?" Senior Brother Zhao angrily shouted. "Senior Brother Zhao, don't slander me. Even if I did cultivate it, how could I control 2 senior brothers whose realms are higher than mine right under your eyes?" Yi Xian's mouth slightly curled. He did not waste any more words and directly turned to leave. "You're courting death." Senior Brother Zhao could not bear the humiliation and directly rushed toward Yi Xian. Immediately, the other 2 quickly blocked in front of Senior Brother Zhao. "You 2, get out of my way." Senior Brother Zhao punched each of them and sent them flying. The first disaster of the 3 sovereign disasters, the mortal body disaster, cultivated the physical body, so the suppression of realms was relatively large. Hearing the whistling sound of the wind, Yi Xian swept his gaze over and discovered that the other 2 had already been sent flying by Senior Brother Zhao. Senior Brother Zhao dared to make a move in the Bloodrock sect because he had the backing of Senior Brother Gua from the inner sect. However, Yi Xian did not want to cause trouble, but that did not mean that he was afraid of trouble. Since the other party was courting death, he naturally had to teach them a lesson. However, just as he was about to make a move, "Stop!" an old voice bellowed. Senior Brother Zhao's figure trembled as he stopped. Almost everyone in the outer sect was young. This old voice meant that the one who had come was at least a deacon. If it was a deacon, he would not be afraid, but if it was an elder, then he would be in for a tragedy. When Senior Brother Zhao turned his head to look, he saw a white-haired old man in the robes of an elder walking toward him. An elder! He hurriedly breathed a sigh of relief, because if this punch landed, it would be hitting the elder's face. This was a challenge to the elder's authority. "What are you doing?" The elder walked over. "Greetings, elder." The surrounding disciples immediately greeted him. Yi Xian also saw him approach, and was somewhat shocked. This was because his eye of perception did not detect where this elder had come from. This meant that this elder's strength was already boundless. The aura he had concealed was similar to that of an ordinary disciple, so Yi Xian did not detect it. Hearing the elder's words, Senior Brother Zhao swallowed his saliva and said, "Reporting to the elder, this person has learned a martial art to control others and has controlled my 2 junior brothers." "They've been controlled?" The red-clothed elder raised an eyebrow, then his gaze landed on the 2 lackeys of Senior Brother Zhao, but did not find anything strange. Chapter 951. Are you looking for an excuse to cover up the fact that you disregarded the sect's rules and attacked? The red-clothed elder coldly snorted. These 2 don't show any signs of being controlled. Furthermore, their realms are higher than this brat's. Are you joking with me? I wouldn't dare. Senior Brother Zhao hastily shrunk his neck. In truth, he was just casually spouting nonsense. He also felt that it wasn't very reliable. However, His two loyal junior brothers had suddenly turned around and attacked him when he was catching Yi Xian. This was something that he couldn't understand. You should know the rules for attacking in the sect, right? The red-clothed elder looked at senior brother Zhao. This disciple knows. Senior brother Zhao nodded. According to the Blood Rock sect's rules, anyone who attacked in the sect would have to face the wall for half a year. At this time, the red-clothed elder's gaze fell on Yi Xian and asked, "Why didn't you block or dodge his attack just now?" This disciple didn't have time. Yi Xian casually replied. That's not necessarily the case. The red-clothed elder narrowed his eyes and said, "This old man is in charge of the training hall. I heard that you completed 2 training missions in a single day." These words gave Yi Xian a fright. He didn't expect that the red-clothed elder was actually the elder in charge of the training hall. Facing the red-clothed elder's snake-like eyes, he replied, "This brat was just lucky. Whether it was a fluke or not, I personally went to check. None of the Blood Rock spiders were left in the number 666 and number 834 Blood Rock mines." The red-clothed elder narrowed his eyes and said, "Did you personally complete these 2 missions?" "Yes," Yi Xian solemnly replied. What a joke. He was the one who completed them. Since it was the truth, what was there to be afraid of? The supervisor of the number 834 Blood Rock mine said that you were only at the 2nd stage of human body disaster when you went in. 8 hours later, you came out at the 3rd stage of human body disaster. Not only did you take care of all the Blood Rock spiders in those 8 hours, you even broke through to the 3rd stage of human body disaster. In my opinion, this is nothing. The red-clothed elder paused for a moment before continuing. But, the time you took to complete the 2 missions and the time you took to hand in the mission to the training hall was only a few minutes apart. How did you do it? As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people were shocked. The time it took to complete the mission, obtain the mission certificate, and return the mission to the training hall was only a few minutes apart. How was this possible? Even if senior brother Zhao went to the nearest number 666 Blood Rock mine, it would take him at least an hour to get there. This is Junior's secret. Yi Xian knew where he had gone wrong. It was because of the time gap. However, he did not mind. After all, the secret of the Eye of the Void was no big deal. All right, since it's a secret, I won't ask too much. However, some people suspect that you are faking it, so you have to prove your strength, the red-robed elder continued. How do we prove it? Yi Xian asked. At this moment, the red-clothed elder's gaze landed on senior brother Zhao again, and he said, "You can fight with him, but he can only use his hands, not weapons." All right. Before senior brother Zhao could say anything, Yi Xian forcefully replied. Although he was only at the 3rd stage of human body disaster, while senior brother Zhao was at the 5th stage of human body disaster, senior brother Zhao could not use weapons, and could only use his fists and palms, so his attack power was insufficient. Humph, you're courting death. When senior brother Zhao saw Yi Xian immediately reply, he felt very displeased. After all, this meant that he was underestimating him. With a difference of 2 realms, he could even kill him with his fists, so why would he need to use a sword? Since that's the case, let's go to the arena. The red-clothed elder nodded and said, "Forget it, let's do it here. If you win, you won't have to face the wall." After saying that, he turned to look at Yi Xian, and said, "If you can surpass 2 realms and defeat him, I'll reward you with 10,000 blood rocks." 10,000 blood rocks. When this voice entered the ears of the surrounding people, their bodies trembled. Even senior brother Zhao only had a net worth of over 10,000 blood rocks, but the elder was actually giving out 10,000 blood rocks as a reward. No, it wasn't a reward, because it was meant for Yi Xian alone. If senior brother Zhao beat Yi Xian, he would be spared from facing the wall for half a year, but if Yi Xian beat him, he would be rewarded with 10,000 blood rocks. This reward was completely unfair. Bastard, you think you can beat me? I'll make sure you don't get those 10,000 blood rocks. Senior brother Zhao's eyes flashed. At this time, the surrounding disciples all retreated, making space for Yi Xian and senior brother Zhao. Senior brother Zhao clenched his fists. Although he hadn't comprehended fist intent, he had learned a fist technique. Coupled with the suppression of realms, he was confident that he could blast Yi Xian apart with one punch. "Don't just stand there, let's begin," the red-clothed elder urged. Ha! As his voice rang out, senior brother Zhao punched out, and a red fist shadow flew towards Yi Xian. Even a fourth-grade human body disaster expert wouldn't dare to be careless with this punch. However, Yi Xian didn't care at all. Cold sky slash. Pang. The fist shadow and the sword light collided, and a shockwave instantly rolled out. What surprised everyone was that Yi Xian's sword actually defeated senior brother Zhao's attack. Even if he had a supreme spiritual treasure, it couldn't make up for the difference of two realms, right? Seeing this, the red-clothed elder's eyes couldn't help but light up, because he could see the power of that sword. Impossible, you dare to challenge me 2 realms above you. I don't believe it. Senior brother Zhao shouted angrily, and his figure flashed. At the same time, Yi Xian also moved, and his speed wasn't any slower than senior brother Zhao's. Boom! 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 The two's true chis continuously collided. Although there was a difference of 2 realms, Yi Xian had the sword god's bloodline in his body. Moreover, the beast god's bloodline increased his strength by 40%, and his agility by 80%. Even if he didn't use those trump cards, it wouldn't be a problem to get rid of this senior brother Zhao. When the surrounding people saw that Yi Xian and senior brother Zhao were actually fighting to a draw, they were shocked to the point of speechlessness. A 3rd-stage human body disaster was evenly matched with a 5th-stage human body disaster. Was senior brother Zhao too weak, or was Yi Xian too strong? Of course, it was Yi Xian who was too strong. The surrounding people weren't fools. They all believed that they didn't have the ability to receive Yi Xian's attack, so Yi Xian's strength was enough to complete one of the most difficult 3-star missions. However, at this moment, ding! Cold Sky Slash's proficiency level has increased. Current proficiency level is 100%. Its power has doubled. Suddenly, a system notification rang out, and Yi Xian didn't stop in time, and directly chopped out with a slash. Pang! This slash easily defeated senior brother Zhao's fist shadow, and then landed on his body. Puh. Chapter 952. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Yi Xian actually succeeded in challenging someone 2 levels above him? In fact, even Yi Xian did not expect his Cold Sky Slash to reach 100% mastery at this time. Only then did he remember that the effects of the sword comprehension pill had yet to wear off, so in just a short while, he had already raised a martial art to 100% mastery. Not only could the sword comprehension pill quickly comprehend sword force, but it could also quickly increase the proficiency of sword-type martial arts. If combined with the sword god's bloodline, the effect would be greatly improved. Not bad, not bad. You've raised 90% mastery to 100% mastery. The red-robed elder praised Yi Xian without even looking at the injured senior brother Zhao. Just now, he had promised that as long as Yi Xian succeeded in challenging someone 2 levels above him, he would give Yi Xian 10,000 bloodstones. A gentleman's words were hard to take back. Kid, you're not bad. Here are 10,000 bloodstones as a reward. The red-robed elder threw an exquisite red stone over. When everyone saw it, their eyes shone with greed. Mid-grade bloodstone. This piece of mid-grade bloodstone was worth more than 10,000 pieces of low-grade bloodstones. If a piece of mid-grade bloodstone was mixed into a supreme spiritual treasure, its hardness and power would be greatly increased. Yi Xian received the mid-grade bloodstone and moved respectfully. Thank you for the reward, elder. I've seen your strength. You have the ability to complete 2 cleanup missions in 1 day. The red-robed elder paused for a moment before continuing. I want to take you in as an in-name disciple. What do you think? Boom. When these words were spoken, the surrounding people were so shocked that they could not speak. Senior brother Zhao, who had been sent flying by Yi Xian, clutched his chest and revealed a resentful expression. Even he did not have the qualifications to be taken in as an elder's disciple. So what did Yi Xian do? Although Yi Xian had defeated him, he had restrictions. If he had used a weapon, he would have been able to easily kill Yi Xian. So he was not convinced. However, the red-robed elder was questioning him now, so he did not dare to interrupt. Registered disciple? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. If someone wanted to take him in as a personal disciple, he wouldn't agree. But this was just a registered disciple, so it was fine. He had once taken a few people as his master, but other than Mysterious Mountain Master, none of them had a good ending. Zhou Tsong had plotted against him, but was killed by him instead. He was almost whipped by him. The 100 Poison Sect's old monster Hong also wanted to take him in as a disciple, but in the end, he also died. Elder Han Ming of the Burning Sun Hall had accepted him and Luo Luo as disciples, but he had been killed by a single palm strike from the retired emperor of the Royal Sacred Dynasty. Thus, he was a bit of a jinx. Whoever accepted him as a personal disciple would die. However, with Mountain Man Xianzhong as an example, he felt that it was fine to become a disciple in name. With the support of an elder, he would be able to walk more smoothly in the future. "Greetings, Master." Yi Xian hastily cupped his fists and said, All right. My name is Dong Xing, and I'm in charge of the Outer Sect's training hall. Although you are only an Outer Sect elder, you still have some status. If anyone dares to provoke you in the future, they will have to think twice." The red-robed elder said with a smile. "This old man lives in the training hall. If you have anything you don't understand, you can come and find me. Also, I have a sword-shaped stone. If you want to comprehend it, you can come." "Many thanks, Master," Yi Xian said gratefully. Immediately, Dong Xing left. The sword-shaped stone didn't mean much to Yi Xian, because he had already comprehended the minute sword force. Of course, if it was a mid-level sword-shaped stone, it would be a different story. A mid-level sword-shaped stone could help a cultivator comprehend the perfect sword force. Then, Yi Xian left under the envious gazes of the crowd. As for that senior brother Zhao, he stood up with a gloomy expression. His two lackeys were under Yi Xian's control, so they were gloating. The smile on their faces made senior brother Zhao reveal a vicious expression. "Brat, don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you have become an elder's disciple." Senior brother Zhao shouted angrily in his heart and left. Although he was going to face the wall for half a year, he still had to go to the inner sect to inform that senior Gua. "Young master, are you all right?" Luo Luo asked. "Of course I'm fine. I'm very powerful. I was even accepted as an outer sect elder's disciple." Yi Xian replied. "Is that so? Young master is really powerful. Oh, those people are too annoying. They are like flies. I'll just stay in my residence and cultivate. In a few days, I'll probably break through to second-grade human body disaster." Luo Luo's voice was filled with resentment. Clearly, she couldn't stand those senior brothers who were finding excuses to strike up a conversation with her. "Cultivate well." After Yi Xian replied, he returned to his residence. Now that he had become Dong Xing's disciple, no one would question his strength in the future. When the time came, he would be able to complete missions without restrictions. However, those inner sect disciples were troublesome, but he wasn't afraid. If they dared to continue looking for him, he wouldn't mind teaching them a lesson. In the battle just now, he didn't even use the Skyquake sword. He also didn't use any of his trump cards. If he had used them, senior brother Zhao would have died 100 times. At this time, Wei Zhentian suddenly ran out. "You want that mid-grade blood rock, right? Sure, I'll give it to you." Yi Xian generously threw the blood rock to Wei Zhentian. Now that he had broken through to third-grade human body disaster, Wei Zhentian was only at second-grade human body disaster. Moreover, during this period of time, he found that Wei Zhentian was only faster at refining ores. If he were to consume supreme spiritual treasures, he would be extremely slow. Therefore, it was better to just give the ores to Wei Zhentian. After all, there were no ores in the exchange system. Ding! Wei Zhentian leveled up. The system notified. As expected, this mid-grade blood rock allowed Wei Zhentian to break through to third-grade human body disaster. With Wei Zhentian's breakthrough, the power of 10,000 returning to origin would also increase. Yi Xian would also indirectly become stronger. Therefore, Yi Xian couldn't just focus on increasing his own realm. However, not long after Wei Zhentian broke through, a figure suddenly landed in his courtyard. Yi Xian was very surprised. When he opened the door, he saw that it was someone he didn't recognize. It was a youth with sword-like eyebrows, but he was wearing the clothes of Bloodrock Sect's inner sect disciples. "You're Yi Xian?" The youth with sword-like eyebrows locked his gaze on Yi Xian, looking like a superior. "Senior brother, may I ask who you are?" Yi Xian cupped his fists and asked. However, he had already guessed the other party's identity in his heart. This person was probably the senior brother Gua that senior brother Zhao mentioned. "Humph, you beat up my people, but you don't even know who I am?" The youth with sword-like eyebrows snorted coldly. "As expected. Yi Xian could confirm that this youth with sword-like eyebrows was the senior brother Gua. Oh, what is the matter, senior brother Gua? Chapter 953. What's your relationship with junior sister Luo Luo? Senior brother Gua was like senior brother Zhao, going straight to the point. Luo Luo is my younger sister. This time, Yi Xian answered. He didn't want anyone else to ask about his relationship with Luo Luo. Humph. Junior sister Luo Luo is from the Fox Charm clan, and you're a human. Since you're not blood brothers, then you should stay away. Senior brother Gua kindly reminded him. You don't need to worry about this, senior brother Gua. Yi Xian couldn't be bothered with him, and directly closed the door. Bang! Unexpectedly, the door was smashed open by senior brother Gua's palm. You have guts, you dare to ignore me? Senior brother Gua's actions had successfully angered Yi Xian. At that moment, several veins popped out on Yi Xian's forehead. Trash, get the hell away from me, don't force me to kill you. Yi Xian finally couldn't help but curse. Sometimes if you back down, the other party would take a yard after giving you an inch, so he still had to curse. What did you say? Senior brother Gua seemed to have heard the funniest sentence in his life. Yi Xian actually called him trash, and even said that if he didn't scram, he would kill him. This was the biggest joke in the world. Ha ha ha, a trash of the third layer of human body disaster actually wants to kill me. Ha 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 ha. Senior brother Gua couldn't help but laugh, but in the next moment, his face sank. After all, Yi Xian had just cursed him. If this wasn't the Bloodrock sect, he would definitely slap Yi Xian to death. Unfortunately, Yi Xian was now accepted as a disciple of an outer sect elder, which was a bit troublesome. Do you know what realm I'm at? 7th layer of human body disaster. Even if you cultivate for another 10 years, I'm afraid you won't be able to reach this realm. Trash, you're cursing yourself. Senior brother Gua had a mocking expression, and his tone was full of disdain. Indeed, Yi Xian's current realm was too low, but if they really fought, the one to die would definitely be senior brother Gua. 10,000 swords returned to origin, sword force, various bloodlines. These factors were enough to give Yi Xian the strength to kill senior brother Gua. Humph, I've already told you. If you dare to look for junior sister Luo Luo again, don't blame me for being heartless. I don't need to do it personally. Senior Gua wasn't prepared to waste his breath with Yi Xian. After leaving behind these words, he floated away. At this moment, Yi Xian really wanted to use the eye of decomposition between his legs. Yi Xian spat at his back, then closed the door. Although the door was broken and there was some leakage, it didn't affect anything. However, he still had to find an opportunity to take revenge for the destruction of his sect. On the morning of the second day, another person arrived at his residence. Junior brother. It was a familiar voice. Yi Xian opened his eyes in surprise. He'd heard this voice twice before. It belonged to the Blood Rock sect disciple who'd given him a mission in the Hall of Experience. He quickly walked out and asked, Senior brother, is there something you need? Junior brother, I didn't believe in your strength, so I reported it to the elder. Please forgive me, junior brother, the Blood Rock sect disciple said guiltily. It's fine. Yi Xian smiled faintly. There's one more thing. The elder wants you to see him, the disciple continued. The elder? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He recalled that he'd been accepted as a nominal disciple by Elder Dong Xing, who was in charge of the Hall of Experience. I understand. Thank you for telling me, senior brother. Yi Xian nodded and headed straight for the Hall of Experience. Dong Xing lived behind the Hall of Experience, so Yi Xian went to find him. Before he entered, he sensed a figure in the courtyard. It's Yi Xian, right? Come in, Dong Xing's voice sounded. Yi Xian pushed open the door and entered. You've become my nominal disciple. This is a protective talisman that I've refined. It can block an attack under true energy disaster and save your life at a critical moment. Dong Xing threw an exquisite talisman to Yi Xian. After Yi Xian received it, he couldn't help but tremble. Blocking an attack under true energy disaster was a good thing. Thank you, Master. He thanked sincerely. Recently, the Hall of Experience has updated some missions. There's a Bloodrock Spider Tide in a few mines, and there's a Bloodrock Spider King at 6th grade human body disaster. You can go and give it a try. Dong Xing said and threw a scroll over. This mission hasn't been released yet, so it's not just one person doing it. There will be other outer disciples as well. There were already people who went there yesterday. Yi Xian flipped open the scroll and saw that there were roughly 4,000 bloodrock spiders in the bloodrock mine. Moreover, the weakest of them was at the 3rd level of human body disaster, while the majority of them were at the 4th level of human body disaster. The difficulty of this mission was probably 10 or 20 times that of the previous 3-star mission. Originally, with my realm, I definitely wouldn't be able to take it, but Master made an exception and let me take it. This time, I might be able to break through to 4th grade human body disaster. Yi Xian thought inwardly. 4th grade human body disaster was the minimum, and he might even be able to reach 5th grade human body disaster. After all, there was still a Bloodrock Spider King at 6th grade human body disaster. If you can bring back the corpse of the Bloodrock Spider King, I'll accept you as my direct disciple, Dongxing said again. In fact, Yi Xian didn't want to become a direct disciple, because he had the attribute of restraining his master. However, this Bloodrock Spider King at 6th grade human body disaster was something he had to kill. Okay, I'll go now. Yi Xian nodded and immediately left. This was an extremely rare opportunity. After all, this mission required at least a 6-star mission, and he was only at 3rd grade human body disaster, so he could only accept a 4-star mission at most. That was all. The 6th-stage human body disaster Bloodstone Spider King was in Bloodrock Mine number 444. This wasn't a good number, but Yi Xian didn't care about this. This Bloodrock Spider King was very strong, and it was extremely dangerous down there. Therefore, Yi Xian estimated that there would be quite a few 5th grade human body disaster or 6th grade human body disaster disciples coming this time. For the sake of leveling up, he had to make the best use of his time. This mine number 444 was a bit far, so this time, Yi Xian spent more than half a day to arrive. However, at this time, there was already a sea of people here. Not waiting for him to approach, someone shouted at him, "Junior brother, you've come at the right time. Our team is still missing one person." Yi Xian swept a glance and found that these people were all going down in groups, with at least 3 people in each group. Chapter 954. F*CK. You're only at the 3rd stage of human body disaster. What the hell are you doing here? Get lost. Hearing this, Yi Xian fiercely glared at him. Burning eye. This kind of person had to be taught a lesson. Ah. That person felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife as he cried out in pain. The surrounding people were surprised and went forward to check. What happened to you? His companion asked. I don't know. My heart hurts like it's being burned. That person shook his head. He still didn't know that it was Yi Xian who did it. After all, he was several thousand meters away from Yi Xian. Although he was at the 5th stage of human body disaster, Yi Xian's Heavenly Eye God clan bloodline had evolved 3 times. Adding that to his own bloodline, he was at the 4th stage. Therefore there was still some effect. Yi Xian didn't bother to pay attention to the others and directly walked to the entrance of the huge Bloodrock mine. At this time, there were several attendants standing guard here. The movement below was so great that even the ground was shaking. It's you? One of the attendants noticed Yi Xian. The latter looked over and discovered that it was actually the attendant who had brought him and Luo into the sect. Kid, not bad. You were actually accepted as an in-name disciple by Elder Dong, and even defeated a 5th-stage human body disaster disciple. You have the qualifications to go down. The attendant smiled. Many thanks for Lord Attendant's praise. Yi Xian cupped his fists. Originally, there were many people in the surroundings who had doubts about Yi Xian. Why would a 3rd-stage human body disaster disciple come here? However, after hearing this, they realized that Yi Xian wasn't someone to be trifled with. An in-name disciple of an outer sect elder had a status that surpassed the majority of outer sect disciples. They couldn't afford to offend him. At this time, the attendant spoke again. However, are you alone? Yes. Lord Attendant. Please open the formation. Yi Xian nodded. In truth, he was dissatisfied with the title of Lord Attendant. However, this was the rule of the Bloodrock sect. Only those who entered the inner sect could not call him Lord. As soon as this was said, the surrounding people continued to show looks of contempt. Even a 6th-stage human body disaster disciple would not dare to go down alone, and Yi Xian was only at the 3rd stage of human body disaster, so this was simply sending himself to his death. It seems that Elder Dong Xing has accepted a fool as his in-name disciple. Many people thought so in their hearts, and some even whispered it out loud. These words naturally fell into Yi Xian's ears. However, Yi Xian couldn't be bothered with them. He was already half a day late. If he didn't go in now, what would he do if the bloody rock spider was killed? All right. The deacon didn't say much and immediately opened the array. Yi Xian immediately jumped in. The surrounding people also widened their eyes. They did not expect Yi Xian to actually go down. He was courting death. He was really courting death. At this moment, Yi Xian had already rushed in and was descending rapidly. The blood rock spiders at the entrance of the mine had been cleared out by the people who had entered before, so Yi Xian did not encounter a single blood rock spider. Papa! Yi Xian landed on the ground and sensed for a moment. There was not a single person in the surroundings, nor was there a single blood rock spider. There were quite a few forks in the road, but it didn't matter. Therefore, Yi Xian randomly found a mine tunnel and entered. Rumble! Rumbling sounds continuously resounded in the blood rock mine. These were the sounds of the blood rock sect disciples fighting against the blood rock spiders. This mine was relatively large. Although Yi Xian had lagged behind for half a day, he still encountered several blood rock spiders comparable to third-stage human body disaster. These blood rock spiders were all hacked to death by Yi Xian's sword. My primary goal is to level up, followed by the 6th-stage human body disaster blood rock spider king. If I don't break through, dealing with that blood rock spider king will be somewhat difficult. As Yi Xian thought to himself, he directly summoned his doppelganger and Wei Zhentian to continue the three-way slaughter. In this blood rock mine, 4th-stage human body disaster blood rock spiders were the majority. Only near the nest would 5th-stage human body disaster blood rock spiders appear. Therefore, Yi Xian killed while searching for the nest of the blood rock spiders. The Gemini bloodline was a very powerful bloodline. His doppelganger also had the perceptive eye, so Yi Xian was equivalent to having 2 radars. Although there were many blood rock spiders, almost none of them could block Yi Xian's sword. Even if Yi Xian did not wield Wei Zhentian's sword. Yi Xian had only landed for 3 minutes, but he had already killed nearly 100 blood rock spiders, which was equivalent to over 1,000 from before. Killing monsters above my level is really fast. In less than half an hour, I will be able to break through. Yi Xian had a smile on his face. With the beast god bloodline's devouring benefit, devouring the sacred beast soul allowed him to level up very quickly. He shuttled back and forth in the mine, while at the same time, he avoided the disciples. However, as he continued to go deeper, he could only interact with these disciples. Why is there a 3rd-stage human body disaster disciple? What a joke! The blood rock spider's defense is so hard. Even if it's someone of the same level, it won't be that easy to break through. Coming down here is simply courting death. Ignore him. Even if he dies, it will definitely be the blood rock spider that bit him to death. Let's quickly recover. After each of the disciples ridiculed him, they no longer paid attention to Yi Xian. Yi Xian was too lazy to pay attention to this group of superficial people. He directly passed by them and entered a mine. Immediately, a bloody storm swept through this mine. The few blood rock sect disciples outside the mine were very surprised. One of them went in to investigate and found that the blood rock spiders blocking the way had all disappeared. How is this possible? At this time, Yi Xian had already killed his way into the depths. I finally found a nest. Looks like my luck is pretty good. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. Relying on his eye of perception, he found the blood rock spider's nest right in front of him. Although this mine was occupied, there were still a few blood rock spiders in the mine. Most of them would stay in their nests. Yi Xian killed his way to the entrance of the blood rock spider's nest and directly rushed in. However, this blood rock spider's nest had more forks than the mine. An ordinary disciple would very likely get lost in this place. However, with the eye of perception and the devouring system, Yi Xian was constantly copying a map. As long as the eye of perception swept over a place, the devouring system would automatically create a map, so getting lost was impossible. Not many disciples had killed their way into the nest, so there were a frightening number of blood rock spiders in the nest. There's no one around. Let me see the power of my sword move. Yi Xian held an ordinary supreme spiritual treasure in his hand, and directly slashed at the blood rock spider in front of him. Among these blood rock spiders, there was even a 5th-tier human body disaster. However, Yi Xian's sword move could be fused with a subtle level sword move. Whoosh! The sword light flashed and instantly slashed at the first blood rock spider. In an instant, it was cut in half. Chapter 955. Just as Yi Xian had expected, the 5th stage human body disaster bloodstone spider was also killed by him. In the end, the sword beam entered the bloodstone crystal wall, reaching a depth of several dozen meters. 4 4th stage human body disaster bloodstone spiders and 1 5th stage human body disaster bloodstone spider were easily killed by Yi Xian. It must be known that even a 4th stage human body disaster disciple might not necessarily be able to break through the defense of a bloodstone spider of the same level. But the 3rd stage human body disaster Yi Xian had killed 5 bloodstone spiders with a single sword. This was the power of his sword aura. If I can break through to 4th stage human body disaster and succeed in my sneak attack, even a 7th stage human body disaster inner disciple will be killed by me. The corner of Yi Xian's mouth rose slightly, his confidence suddenly rising. It had only been 2 months since he entered the Bloodstone sect, but he had already grown from a service disciple to a genius who could defeat an inner disciple. He would definitely be able to enter the eyes of an inner disciple. At that time, he would not lack cultivation resources and would save a lot of time. Thinking of this, he continued to go deeper into the cave. With the support of various bloodlines, Yi Xian's speed was very fast. Even the strongest group in the Bloodstone mine could not compare to him. 100, 200, 300. In the cave, there was a large number of bloodstone spiders, and Yi Xian's battle record was constantly rising. Finally, after he had killed 500 of them, he heard the system's notification. Ding! Host has broken through to 4th stage human body disaster. The system notification said. Now, Yi Xian's strength could be said to be the overlord of the outer disciples. No one could block a single sword of his. What he lacked now was his realm, but if he could not hit his opponent, it would be useless no matter how strong his attack power was. Yi Xian continued to go deeper. Since he had already broken through to 4th stage human body disaster, his first target would be the Bloodstone Spider King. A 6th stage human body disaster Bloodstone Spider King was worth more than the sum of all the other Bloodstone spiders. However, he still did not know the location of the Bloodstone Spider King, so he had to find it. Now that he had comprehended sword force, he could pierce through the 2 tunnels with just a few strikes. As long as he could pierce through them, his eye of perception would be able to follow through. There were quite a few 5th stage human body disaster bloodstone spiders in the nest, and Yi Xian was having a great time killing them. Even if he couldn't find the Bloodstone Spider King, Yi Xian would be satisfied. However, just as he was exploring, the entire blood rock spider's nest suddenly shook violently. What happened? Yi Xian was very surprised. This was the biggest commotion he had ever seen. Even the Bloodstone Spider King could not cause such a commotion. Something big. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. It seemed that there was something underground that even the Bloodstone sect elder had not discovered. It seemed that he had to be more careful. He had to reserve some of his eye power to open the void gate. This huge commotion stopped after a while, and Yi Xian continued to go deeper. Not long after that commotion, he found the first batch of disciples that had entered the blood rock spider's nest. The aura of this batch of disciples was not weak. There were 3 6th stage human body disaster disciples, and 7 5th stage human body disaster disciples. There are actually 3 6th stage human body disaster disciples. It seems that they have found the Bloodstone Spider King. Yi Xian guessed in his heart, and then rushed over. Someone else is coming. A disciple discovered the sound of footsteps. When he turned his head, he saw Yi Xian walking out of one of the tunnels. However, after seeing Yi Xian, a disciple suddenly cried out in surprise, "It's you!" Yi Xian, who had just walked out of the tunnel, raised his eyebrows. He actually saw a familiar person here. It was senior brother Zhao, who had been sent flying by his sword yesterday. Strange, why is Zhao Yi here? Shouldn't he be facing the wall? Yi Xian was also very surprised. Senior brother Zhao had attacked him yesterday and was stopped by Dong Xing. According to the sect rules, he should be facing the wall for half a year. However, he had appeared in front of Yi Xian today. This could only mean that someone had interceded for him. Hearing Zhao Yi's cry of surprise, a 6th stage human body disaster disciple asked, 4th stage human body disaster. Junior brother Zhao, do you know him? Zhao Yi was also stunned. He did not expect that Yi Xian would break through from 3rd stage human body disaster to 4th stage human body disaster in just one day. How was this possible? Senior brother Lien, he is that Yi Xian that senior brother Guo wanted us to kill. Zhao Yi said in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Oh, it's him. When senior brother Lien heard this, a trace of killing intent flashed through his eyes. However, he did not expect that Yi Xian would be able to hear their conversation. Kill. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. He did not expect that senior brother Guo would be so daring as to directly threaten to kill him. At this time, Yi Xian suddenly remembered that senior brother Guo had said yesterday that if he wanted to kill him, he did not need to personally do it. Good boy, it seems that your background is not small. Since you want to kill me, you should be prepared to be killed by me. Yi Xian had already made a decision in his heart. Zhao Yi walked out and looked at Yi Xian, saying, Trash, I lost to you yesterday because I gave face to Elder Dong. Today, there is no one backing you up. As long as you kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, I can spare your life. While he was speaking, someone had already stealthily circled behind Yi Xian, sealing off his path of retreat. It seemed that today, they would not rest until one of them was dead. What if I don't kowtow? You want to kill me? Yi Xian asked curiously. Don't think that the sect rules can restrict everyone. Since you dare to provoke senior brother Guo, even Elder Dong will not be able to save you. I believe that you have already heard that senior brother Guo's master is Elder Yang Zhan of the inner sect. Zhao Yi said coldly. In truth, Yi Xian did not know senior brother Guo's background, but when he heard the name Yang Zhan, his body trembled. Wasn't that the name of Luo's master? I see. The reason why Zhao Yi is here should be because he has been pardoned by Elder Yang Zhen. I don't know if Elder Yang knows about senior brother Guo's actions, or if she has tacitly agreed. Yi Xian's eyes narrowed slightly. However, for now, he had to deal with the problem in front of him first. Among the 10 people in front of him, besides Zhao Yi, there were 3 6th-grade human body disaster and 8 5th-grade human body disaster. In the eyes of these people, Yi Xian was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. However, since these people wanted to ignore the sect rules and kill him, there was no need for him to reason with them. There's no one here now, let's get this over with quickly, lest something unexpected happens, senior brother Lien said in a low voice. All right. Hearing this, Zhao Yi immediately took out a weapon. Although he had lost to Yi Xian yesterday, he was not proficient in fist techniques, which was why he had lost. Today, he would avenge his humiliation. Kid, if you want to blame someone, blame your bad luck. Zhao Yi roared angrily and rushed toward Yi Xian. With a flick of the long sword in his hand, a sword ray flashed and arrived in front of Yi Xian in the blink of an eye. Chapter 956. Brat, if you want to blame someone, blame your bad luck. Zhao Yi roared angrily and rushed towards Yi Xian. With a flick of his sword, a sword ray flashed and arrived in front of Yi Xian in the blink of an eye. This sword attack was at least 3 times stronger than his fist technique from yesterday. However, Yi Xian was the same as yesterday, calm and collected. Facing this sword attack, he didn't even lift his hand. Eye of Nirvana. Shill. The powerful silver slash instantly crushed Zhao Yi's attack. Zhao Yi was shocked, but before he could react, the silver slash had already sunk into his body, cutting him in half at the waist. This scene shocked the surrounding people. The upper half of Zhao Yi's body fell to the ground. Even he didn't expect that he couldn't even block one of Yi Xian's attacks. What kind of attack was that? Even his senior brother was aghast. He didn't even notice how Yi Xian attacked. Brat, you're courting death. At this time, a 6th-layer human body disaster disciple suddenly roared and rushed towards Yi Xian. Unexpectedly, Yi Xian turned his head and glared at him. Eye of Nirvana. Eye of Dissection. A silver slash pierced through the air and crushed his attack, followed by 2 dissection rays that shot into his chest. In an instant, his chest fell down like sand. In less than a second, his heart was dissected into countless tiny particles. The combination of the Eye of Nirvana and the Eye of Dissection was too sinister. Most people would only notice the Eye of Nirvana and not the formless Eye of Dissection. Soon, the internal organs of the 6th-layer human body disaster disciple were completely dissected by the Eye of Dissection. His entire body was empty, as if it had been shot by a laser beam. Since he killed him, Yi Xian didn't plan to waste any more words. Since there was no one here, there wouldn't be a 12th person who would know. Therefore, Yi Xian was too lazy to use the Eye of Control. Shill, shill, shill. That senior brother Lien and the other 6th grade human body disaster expert were scared half to death as they roared, "Quick, kill him!" Only at this moment did he realize what kind of enemy he had provoked. That was a super genius who could instantly kill a 6th-level human body disaster. If they did not kill Yi Xian today, they would be the ones to die. However, right at this moment. Rumble! The entire Blood Rock mine shook violently again. This was the second time. But Yi Xian didn't care so much. He had to kill all these people first. Die! Yi Xian's eyes flashed. He raised his hand and slashed out. This slash was infused with sword force. It was enough to kill senior brother Lien. However, at this moment, boom! The ceiling suddenly exploded, and then a huge object smashed into the ground, forcibly blocking the sword. Bang! When the cold sky slash landed on this massive creature, it was only barely able to break through its defenses. How is this possible? Yi Xian was shocked. His attack was enough to instantly kill a 7th grade human body disaster expert. Why couldn't it break through its defenses? He focused his eyes and discovered that this massive creature seemed to be a leg embedded with blood rock. And under this leg, there was a corpse. It was Zhao Yi, who had been cut in half by Yi Xian's Eye of Nirvana. Being stepped on by this leg, Zhao Yi instantly died tragically. Before the crowd could react, the ceiling began to crack, and rocks continuously fell. Not good. This place is going to collapse. Yi Xian's expression changed greatly. Although he didn't know what this damn thing was, he understood that this damn thing was definitely very powerful. Most importantly, senior brother Lien and the others were blocked by this leg, so he couldn't kill them. Rumble! Huge rocks continuously fell from the ceiling. This blood rock mine was of a higher grade, so the blood rock crystal wall was very hard. Even senior brother Lien couldn't cut it in half. Therefore, senior brother Lien and the others quickly rushed into the mine. Damn it! Yi Xian cursed angrily. He was prepared to kill senior brother Lien and the others, but who knew that this leg would suddenly step on them, disrupting his plan. Just as he was about to explode in anger, a system notification sounded. Ding! Host has triggered a random mission. Kill the blood rock giant. Completion will result in 1 devour point. This system notification made Yi Xian, who was about to leave, stop in his tracks. A random mission. Why would it appear at this time? When this huge leg stepped on them, Yi Xian guessed that this was a giant. But even he, who had comprehended sword force, could only barely break through this blood rock giant's defense. How could he kill this blood rock giant? He would think about this problem later. Megatron. Yi Xian didn't care too much. He directly summoned Megatron and attacked the giant leg that was at least 10 meters in diameter. Full mastery of Cold Sky Slash, Microscopic Sword Force, and Sword God Bloodline. Bang! This time, the attack was much stronger than before, but it could only penetrate 1 or 2 meters. What a strong defense! Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. It seemed that devour points weren't that easy to obtain. However, he still had an ultimate move, which was Ancestral Converging Swords. But this wasn't a suitable place to use it. Moreover, this blood rock giant only revealed half of its calf. Why would he use his ultimate move to cut off its leg? Crack! At this moment, the blood rock giant suddenly raised its leg and was about to climb up. Yi Xian quickly continued attacking. He didn't bother to chase after senior brother Lien and the others. After all, they had scattered and escaped, so it wasn't easy to chase after them. Devour points were more important. This blood rock giant was probably sleeping in this blood rock mine. However, when the disciples of the blood rock sect came in to kill the blood rock spiders, the commotion woke it up. The commotion just now was probably caused by this blood rock giant. Yi Xian followed behind this blood rock giant and kept attacking. But what made him feel helpless was that this blood rock giant ignored him. The blood rock giant climbed very quickly. In less than 10 seconds, it had climbed out of the mine. Yi Xian also followed it to the surface. With a glance, he realized that there was quite a distance between them and the entrance of the mine. Roar! At this moment, the 40 to 50 meter tall blood rock giant suddenly raised its leg and fiercely stomped on Yi Xian. It turned out that it wasn't ignoring Yi Xian just now. Instead, It was preparing to deal with Yi Xian after it came out. Bang! Fortunately, Yi Xian reacted quickly and dodged the kick. With his physique, he couldn't withstand this attack. If he were to be stomped on, both his main body and avatar would probably die. He estimated that this blood rock giant was at least at the 8th grade human body disaster realm. In addition, its defense was already shocking. Therefore, Yi Xian, who had comprehended sword force, could only barely break through its defense. Chapter 957. But now, it seemed that it was too exaggerated. It was easy for him to challenge those of a higher level after comprehending the sword force, but he could not do whatever he wanted. After all, no matter how strong his attack was, it was useless if he could not hit his opponent. There's such a big commotion here. I have to end this quickly, Yi Xian thought to himself. In the next moment, he threw out the Skyquake sword. Ancestral swords. The heaven-shaking sword instantly split into hundreds of sword shadows and attacked the bloody stone giant's head under his control. The ancestral swords was already very powerful. In addition, Yi Xian had comprehended the sword force, so he easily cut off the bloody stone giant's head. Such power. I've got the devouring point. After seeing this scene, the corners of Yi Xian's mouth slightly curled up. However, the notification he expected didn't sound out. That was because the bloody stone giant could still move. Bam! It stomped down again. Yi Xian hurriedly dodged it. Its head exploded, but it's still alive. Is its heart its weak point? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and hurriedly controlled the hundreds of Skyquake swords to attack the bloody stone giant's heart. However, at this moment, bam! The crimson rock giant suddenly exploded, turning into countless red rocks that shot out. What? Yi Xian was shocked. Why did it self-destruct like the green source giant in the Tianshui continent? However, with the eye of perception and the eye of revelation, he found something strange. That thing flew far away after being hit by a strong impact. Yi Xian immediately chased after it. He saw that it was a small red giant, which was probably the crimson stone giant's weak point. In other words, the bloody stone giant was just a set of armor, and the small red giant was just wearing a set of armor. It was because it was wearing this set of armor that the defense of the armor was so powerful. The small red giant flew very fast. Even though Yi Xian reacted quickly, he was still far away from it. Not only that, Wei Zhentian also sent some information to Yi Xian. As expected, the small red giant is the core. It's the real bloody stone giant. Yi Xian was certain. Wei Zhentian was an earth monarch, so he had a special sense for ores. Therefore, as long as the crimson rock giant was not too far away from Yi Xian, Wei Zhentian would be able to find it. Soon, the crimson rock giant left Yi Xian's field of vision. Even the eye of perception could no longer detect it. Fortunately, Wei Zhentian could still do it. He transformed into a flying boat and carried Yi Xian in pursuit. This time, Yi Xian's luck was off the charts. Not only did he receive a random mission, but if he managed to kill the crimson rock giant, Wei Zhentian might be able to break through as well. Therefore, he was determined to get the bloody stone giant. Although the crimson rock giant was nowhere to be seen, it would eventually land on the ground. Wei Zhentian carried Yi Xian for an entire 10 minutes before finally landing on the ground. What's going on? Is it around here? Yi Xian asked. However, when Yi Xian understood Wei Zhentian's intention, he said helplessly, "What? You lost it?" The crimson rock giant was related to the devouring point. If he did not complete the random mission, the devouring point would go to waste. No, find it. You must find it. Yi Xian immediately summoned his clone and began a carpet search. He was going all out for the devouring point. After all, he had let senior brother Lian and the others go. If he did not complete the random mission, he would lose out. Therefore, he had to find the crimson rock giant, even if it took him an entire day. His main body, clone, and Wei Zhentian searched together, but they did not know when they would find it. However, even Wei Zhentian had lost his sense of it, so it was very difficult to find it. I can't let one devouring point go to waste like this. Yi Xian wasn't willing to give up. He started a carpet search, which lasted for an entire half an hour. However, just as he was about to give up, "Little Tian, you found it?" Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. After receiving Wei Zhentian's answer, he quickly flew over. He really found it. Immediately, He and his clone hurried over. Half a minute later, Wei Zhentian had turned into a bird and was standing on a branch. When he saw Yi Xian, he immediately flapped his wings and flew toward the mountain. "You're saying that the Crimson Rock Giant is in this mountain range?" Yi Xian asked. Wei Zhentian nodded solemnly. "All right, let's go in." Yi Xian immediately transformed Wei Zhentian into the Sky Shocker Sword and walked in. The mountain range was very big, and there were some supreme saint beasts. However, they were not a threat to Yi Xian. With Wei Zhentian leading the way, Yi Xian really found the Crimson Rock Giant. At that moment, the Crimson Rock Giant had shrunk into a huge rock. If it was not for its bright color, no one would have noticed it. So it was hiding here. "You're courting death." Yi Xian immediately summoned his clone and slashed at the huge rock. Bang! Bang! The attacks of Yi Xian's original body and clone landed on the red boulder at the same time. In an instant, the red boulder was blasted apart. What? Upon seeing this, Yi Xian was shocked. He realized that the huge red rock was nothing. It was not the Crimson Rock Giant. Not good. Yi Xian's face suddenly darkened. When the huge red rock exploded, Yi Xian was shocked. Suddenly, a red figure drilled out from under the huge red rock and charged toward Yi Xian. The red figure was not much different from a human, but his speed was extraordinarily fast. He was at least a 7th-grade human body disaster. This scene happened so suddenly that Yi Xian could not react in time. If he was hit by the red figure's fist, even he would die. Since he had already used the 10,000 ancestral swords, he could not use the spiritual sword array. Fortunately, Yi Xian still had a life-saving method. Protective medallion. Yi Xian flipped his left hand and a medallion suddenly appeared in it. It was the protective medallion that his master, Dong Xing, had given him to protect his life. He quickly infused his true energy into it. In the next moment, the protective medallion shone brightly, forming a true energy shield that enveloped Yi Xian. Bang! The red figure's fist landed on the true energy shield. This punch was enough to shatter the head of a martial artist below 7th-grade human body disaster. However, this protective medallion could withstand attacks below true energy disaster, so it was not a problem. That was close. So that huge rock was also an armor. It was a trick to attract my attention. Yi Xian swallowed his saliva. Fortunately, he had the protective medallion this time. Otherwise, it would have been a tragedy. His original body might have died. "You dare to sneak attack me?" Dang. Chapter 958. Cold Sky Slash. Cold Sky Slash. Eye of Nirvana. Eye of Nirvana. All 4 attacks landed on the Crimson Rock Giant, shattering it in an instant. Ding. Host has completed the mission of killing the Crimson Rock Giant. 1 Devour point has been obtained. The system notification finally rang out. Yi Xian could now confirm that the Crimson Rock Giant was dead. At this time, Wei Zhentian reverted to his true form and went over to devour the Crimson Rock Giant's shattered body. The huge armor outside the mine and the boulder that Yi Xian had shattered were only the Crimson Rock Giant's armor, so they weren't worth much. The shattered body was the Crimson Rock Giant's body. After Wei Zhentian devoured all the red fragments, Yi Xian heard another notification. Ding! Wei Zhentian broke through. Now, Wei Zhentian was at 4th-grade human body disaster, but Yi Xian felt that it wasn't over yet. Wei Zhentian's refining speed was fast, but it wasn't fast enough to refine such a powerful ore in a few breaths' time. Sure enough, in less than a minute, the system notification rang out again. Ding! Wei Zhentian broke through. 5th-grade human body disaster. After Wei Zhentian devoured the Crimson Rock Giant, his strength increased by 2 times, reaching 5th-grade human body disaster. But it wasn't over yet. Ding! Wei Zhentian broke through. The 3rd system notification rang out, and Wei Zhentian broke through to 6th-grade human body disaster. You really earned big this time. Yi Xian looked at the excited Wei Zhentian and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Of course, this time, he also gained a single devour point. He didn't let senior brother Lien and the others go in vain to chase after the Crimson Rock Giant. Although his realm didn't increase, Wei Zhentian jumped 3 levels, 2 levels higher than Yi Xian, so Yi Xian's strength increased by 2 to 3 times. Let's go back and take a look. After thinking carefully, Yi Xian decided to return to the Crimson Rock Mine. After all, there might still be a Crimson Rock Spider King there. As for senior brother Lien, it was very likely that he ran back to the Crimson Rock sect to complain. In any case, they made the first move. This was what Yi Xian thought. After all, he was the victim. He immediately rushed towards the Bloodrock mine. When he returned to the large hole that the Bloodrock giant had created, he found that there was no one there. What's going on? Where did everyone go? Did they all run away? Yi Xian thought in surprise. However, this was still acceptable. After all, before the Crimson Stone Giant exploded, its attack power was astonishing. It could definitely stomp a 6-stage human body disaster cultivator to death with a single stomp. If they didn't run, would they be courting death? Furthermore, the strength of the explosion was enough to crush the majority of the disciples to death. Yi Xian was too lazy to look for the other disciples. He directly drilled into the burrow. His target this time was the Bloodstone Spider King. There weren't many people left in the Bloodrock mine. After all, they didn't know if there were more Bloodrock giants down there. Yi Xian walked around the Bloodrock spider nest for a while, and finally found the largest Bloodrock spider. It seemed to be the Bloodrock Spider King. Mighty Might is now a 6th grade 1st stage supreme spiritual treasure. Coupled with the sword aura, it can definitely injure this Bloodrock Spider King. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. He quickly turned around and attacked the Bloodrock Spider King. At this moment, he was fusing with his doppelganger. After all, this could increase his strength by 30%. Xiao! An ice-cold sword ray slashed at the Bloodrock Spider King. In an instant, the Bloodrock Spider King hissed. Turbid and scarlet blood flowed out. As the Bloodrock Spider King moved, blood splattered everywhere. Originally, Yi Xian wanted to see the Bloodrock Spider King and use myriad returning swords to kill it. However, it didn't seem to be necessary now. Cold Sky Slash. Eye of Nirvana. In any case, there were no other threats in the Bloodrock mine. Yi Xian wasn't afraid. After a few rounds, the Bloodrock Spider King was killed by him. At this moment, he quickly swept over and stored the corpse. Devour. The sacred beast soul of a 6th grade human body disaster was comparable to all the Bloodrock spiders in the Bloodrock mine. After Yi Xian devoured it, his cultivation increased by a lot. However, he didn't hear the system's notification. Still not enough. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. His figure flashed and left. There were still many Bloodrock spiders in the Bloodrock mine. If he cleaned them all up, it might be enough. Indeed, there wasn't a single person in the Bloodrock mine. Therefore, these Bloodrock spiders were all taken advantage of by Yi Xian. After he cleaned up the entire Bloodrock mine, he heard the system's notification. Ding! Host has broken through. Host is currently at 5th grade human body disaster. After Yi Xian heard the notification, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally broken through to 5th grade human body disaster. Although his realm hadn't reached the standard of inner disciples, his strength was close to the top among the disciples. There weren't many people under true energy disaster who could withstand 10,000 swords returned to origin. After that, Yi Xian left the mine. However, there was a formation here, so he directly broke through the void. When he passed through the void, he was already back at the Bloodrock sect. As for the others, they were probably still on their way. I can't let that senior brother Lien complain first. After thinking about it, Yi Xian walked directly to the training hall. Previously, Dong Xing had told him that if he obtained the Bloodrock Spider King's corpse, he would accept him as his disciple. However, Yi Xian didn't want to do that. Oh, you're back. After seeing Yi Xian at the back of the training hall, Dong Xing asked in astonishment. Master. Yi Xian hurriedly recounted the situation. After Dong Xing finished listening, he was extremely shocked. Bloodrock giant? What happened to the giant? Dong Xing asked. The Bloodrock giant was a type of transcendent sacred beast. It was of a higher level than the Bloodrock Spider King, but it didn't have the sacred beast soul. I'm not sure. Yi Xian shook his head. Although Dong Xing was his master, he was a little neurotic and didn't trust people easily. Therefore, it was better to keep it a secret. Dong Xing didn't ask anymore and said, that Lian Cheng is the direct disciple of an outer sect alchemy hall elder, but I'm not someone to be trifled with. Don't worry, I'll definitely make him peel off his skin. Thank you, master. Yi Xian thanked him. Don't worry about it. You actually managed to break through from the 3rd level of human body disaster to the 5th level of human body disaster in just a few short days. I don't even know how you cultivate. Continue to work hard, and when you break through the 6th level of human body disaster, I'll accept you as my personal disciple. Dong Xing nodded in satisfaction. In fact, he wanted to accept Yi Xian right now. Although Yi Xian didn't bring back the corpse of the Blood Rock Spider King, Yi Xian's aptitude was definitely first in the outer sect. Chapter 959. After that, Yi Xian directly left Dong Xing's residence. Although Lian Cheng was also an elder's disciple, and a direct disciple at that, he had violated the sect rules. With Dong Xing around, the one who would be punished would definitely be Lian Cheng. Therefore, Yi Xian returned to his residence and quietly waited for Lian Cheng and the others to return. He estimated that it would still take half a day. I heard that as an outer sect disciple, as long as they defeat an inner sect disciple, they will be able to enter the inner sect. At that time, I will directly challenge that senior brother Gua. Yi Xian's eyes flickered. He still remembered the words that senior brother Gua had said before, as well as the other party's high and mighty attitude. He wanted to see what kind of expression senior brother Gua would have when he stepped on him. Young master, I've broken through to the 2nd layer of human body disaster. Just as Yi Xian returned to his residence, Luolua's excited voice rang out in his mind. And good luck. Yi Xian encouraged her. At the age of 15, Luoluo had only entered the Blood Rock sect for 2 months, yet she had already broken through to the 2nd layer of human body disaster. Her aptitude could be considered top-notch. However, Yi Xian had broken through to the 5th layer of human body disaster from the peak of the 9th layer of human body disaster in just 2 months. His aptitude had directly surpassed Luolua's. As for what had happened today, Yi Xian did not plan to tell Luoluo, as he did not want to distract her. Now that I have one more devour point, which one should I strengthen? Yi Xian had been pondering in his heart. There were many uses for devour points. They could be used to exchange for Supreme Being spiritual treasures, bloodline evolution pills, etc. In fact, Yi Xian really wanted Luoluo to evolve again, but he did not have enough devour points. Therefore he decided to keep this devour point first, and look at it again in the future, as it might be useful in the future. Very quickly, half a day had passed. However, Dong Xing brought back a piece of news that disappointed Yi Xian. Yi Xian, that Lian Cheng and the others insisted that they did not see you that day. Furthermore, there was an inner sect elder behind them, so. Dong Xing found Yi Xian and said helplessly. Although he believed Yi Xian's words, there was no one else that day. As long as Lian Cheng and the others' words were consistent, Yi Xian had no proof. Is that so? Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that Lian Cheng and the others were intimidated by the strength he revealed at that time. Fortunately, he didn't use his sword force at that time, and the only time he used it was blocked by the Bloodrock Giant's huge leg, so the other party didn't know. Otherwise, the one looking for Yi Xian wouldn't be Dong Xing. However, he also understood that that inner court elder was very possibly Luolua's master, Elder Yang Zhen. Yi Xian thought in his heart. Seeing him like this, Dong Xing said, among the outer sect disciples, there is no one who is your opponent. In 3 days, it will be the inner sect assessment. As long as you pass the assessment, or defeat an inner sect disciple, you will be able to enter the inner sect. With your aptitude, it will not be a problem for you to be accepted as a direct disciple of an inner sect elder. Originally, Dong Xing wanted to accept Yi Xian as a disciple, but he knew his own limits. He felt that there was no way he could teach Yi Xian, so he could only give it up and give it to an inner sect elder. Master, I will definitely be able to enter the inner sect. Yi Xian said solemnly. To enter the inner sect, one had to be at least at the 7th stage of human body disaster. Only a small number of disciples at the 6th stage of human body disaster passed the assessment. However, with his current strength, he could kill someone at the 7th stage of human body disaster with a single strike. Passing the assessment or defeating an inner sect disciple would not be a problem. Good master believes in you. Dong Xing revealed a satisfied smile. Although he had several direct disciples, 2 of which were at the 6th stage of human body disaster, none of them had the same confidence as Yi Xian. After that, Dong Xing left. The reason he came here was to remind Yi Xian to be more careful and not go out. At this time, it was already late at night. However, tonight would not be a peaceful night. Not long after Dongxing left, another person arrived at Yi Xian's residence. I never thought that you would actually play the pig to eat the tiger. Your strength is not bad. A familiar voice entered Yi Xian's ears. Yi Xian did not need to go out to know that the person who came was definitely that inner sect disciple, Senior Brother Gua. Hearing the voice, he walked out and said indifferently, Senior Brother Gua has some great methods. You even managed to suppress the matter of killing your fellow disciples. Haha, you don't need to provoke me. I will not admit to it. The corner of Senior Brother Gua's mouth slightly curled up, saying, Your survival from a great calamity was out of my expectations. Now, I will give you a chance. Submit to me and I will let you enter the inner sect in 3 days. What? Yi Xian suspected that he had heard wrongly. This Senior Brother Gua actually wanted him to submit? Was this a joke? Senior Brother Gua thinks too highly of yourself. What ability do you have to make me your subordinate? Yi Xian's tone was full of disdain, as if he did not put Senior Brother Gua in his eyes at all. Then you can stay in the outer sect for the rest of your life. Senior Brother Gua said with a gloomy face. Hearing this, Yi Xian could not help but shrink back. He pretended to be very worried, saying, It seems that Senior Brother Gua can control the inner sect examination. However, Senior Brother Gua, have you forgotten that there is another way to enter the inner sect? Senior Brother Gua naturally knew what Yi Xian was referring to. He sneered, saying, You want to challenge an inner sect disciple with just your strength? Not only do I want to challenge an inner sect disciple, I also want to challenge you, Senior Brother Gua. I wonder if Senior Brother Gua will accept? Yi Xian said with a smile. These words completely enraged Senior Brother Gua. Yi Xian actually wanted to step on him to enter the inner sect. Just how ignorant was he? His strength was considered to be at the peak of 7th-layer human body disaster. However, Yi Xian had only killed a 6th-layer human body disaster and dared to challenge him. This was simply courting death. Since you overestimate yourself, then I will wait and see. Senior Brother Gua coldly shouted and suddenly slapped down with his palm. Pang! The house behind Yi Xian instantly collapsed, turned into ruins by Senior Brother Gua's palm. At this time, they were in the Bloodrock sect, so Senior Brother Gua did not dare to slap Yi Xian in the face. He could only vent his anger on Yi Xian's house. After destroying Yi Xian's house, Senior Brother Gua floated away, leaving behind Yi Xian and the surrounding disciples who were quietly hiding to watch. This brat. Does he really think that he has the qualifications to contend against an inner sect disciple just because he is an outer sect elder's disciple? He really doesn't want to live anymore. Senior Brother Gua's master is Elder Yongzhan of the inner sect. Even if he enters the inner sect, he probably won't be able to survive. What a joke. A 5th-layer human body disaster wants to pass the examination? It's not like we don't know how many 6th-layer human body disaster senior brothers have failed the examination. What examination? Didn't this brat say that he wanted to challenge Senior Brother Gua? Crazy, he's really crazy. Chapter 960. The first time Senior Brother Gua had come, Yi Xian's door had been smashed apart. This time, Senior Brother Gua had directly destroyed Yi Xian's house. Senior Brother Gua's overbearingness was already enough to show. In the eyes of these outer disciples, Yi Xian was a brat who had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. He was completely treating his future as a joke. However, they didn't know that Yi Xian didn't take Senior Brother Gua seriously at all. His door was smashed, his house was destroyed, and he was besieged in the Bloodrock mine. All of these grudges were things that Yi Xian would take revenge for in 3 days. In Yi Xian's heart, Senior Brother Gua was just a stepping stone for him to enter the inner sect. There are still 3 days left. I'll go and accept a few more missions. Although it's unlikely for me to break through to 6th grade human body disaster, I'll still be able to increase my strength. Yi Xian thought in his heart. Although he did not place that Senior Brother Gua, who was at the 7th stage of human body disaster, in his eyes, he would not waste these 3 days. After all, that Senior Brother Gua was simply an ant in front of his true enemy. The Yin-Yang old ancestor was at least at the manifestation realm. Even spirit disaster experts wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from him. Not to mention Senior Brother Gua, who hadn't even reached true energy disaster. However, there were currently no 6-star missions in the outer sect. As for 5-star missions, Yi Xian estimated that even if he completed 2 or 3 of them, he wouldn't be able to break through. At this moment, Yi Xian headed towards the training hall. This time, he didn't need to report to Dongxing and directly accepted a 5-star mission. In the following days, he went to complete the training hall missions. After completing them, he would be able to obtain some wealth from the training hall and some from the mission system. In addition to the rewards he obtained during the missions, he had increased his strength by quite a bit in the past 3 days. However, the result was as he had expected. He was unable to break through to 6th grade human body disaster. If there were 6-star missions, I'm afraid that I would be able to break through. Yi Xian helplessly shook his head. Tomorrow was the day of the inner sect examination. Many outer sect disciples who had gone out had also returned. The inner sect examination required registration, but the other method of challenging inner sect disciples didn't. When the time came, they could just call the names. Young master, are you going to the inner sect examination tomorrow? At night, Luo also asked. Of course, but I'm going to challenge an inner sect disciple tomorrow. He's your master's senior brother Gua, Yi Xian replied. Senior martial brother Gua? All right, young master, you have to beat him up tomorrow. This person is too annoying. Always helping people send me flowers. But young master, you have to be careful. This senior brother Gua seems to be my master's illegitimate son. Luo suddenly told Yi Xian a shocking fact. Your master's illegitimate son? What happened? Yi Xian asked in surprise. A son was a son. How could he be an illegitimate child? Master only has one son. His name is Gua Chao, but this is her and her husband's child. However, Master's husband died when he went out to train, so Master secretly gave birth to another child with another person, which was this senior martial brother Guoliang. However, Master said that Guoliang was adopted by her. Luo explained. So you're saying that this senior martial brother Gua has an older half-brother named Gua Chao? Yi Xian immediately reacted. Yes, this Gua Chao is already at 9th stage human body disaster, and is currently attempting true energy disaster. Moreover, I heard that he has a good relationship with the young sect master. Luo nodded. Now, Yi Xian finally understood why this Guoliang was so rampant. It turned out that his mother was an elder, and he had an older half-brother who had a good relationship with a young sect master of the Bloodrock sect. However, Yi Xian would not choose not to take revenge because of the other party's background. Since Luo knows about this, then it shouldn't be a secret in the inner sect, Yi Xian thought for a while then asked. Then Luo, do you know who this Guoliang's father is? That I don't know. Therefore, young master, you have to be careful. If you beat up senior martial brother Guoliang, you might offend many people, Luo reminded him. I understand, but you have to be careful of your master. She doesn't seem to be a good person, Yi Xian also reminded her. Unexpectedly, Luo giggled. Yes, she keeps letting me interact with Guoliang. It seems that she has ulterior motives towards me. After hearing this, Yi Xian let out a sigh of relief. He was afraid that this little girl Luo would be easily fooled. But now, it seemed that Luo was not that foolish. In the Bloodrock sect, Luo was still relatively safe. Yi Xian had previously set up a void positioning system in Luo's residence. If Luo was in any danger in the future, he could instantly teleport over and hide Luo in the storage space. But then again, Yi Xian was going to challenge senior martial brother Gua tomorrow. Senior martial brother Gua's background was a little troublesome, so he felt that he should show some mercy to avoid embarrassing elder Yang Zhen. As the house was destroyed, Yi Xian did not have a place to rest, so he simply sat cross-legged in the courtyard for the night. Originally, Dongxing had sent people to rebuild a new house for Yi Xian, but Yi Xian refused. He wanted to leave the ruins and let Guoliang see what it meant to overestimate one's strength. Soon, the next day arrived. Bloodrock sect had several thousand outer disciples, but only 100 of them had reached 6th grade mortal body disaster. Today, these 100 people were gathered together, preparing to participate in the inner sect examination. Of course, there were more than 10 people like Yi Xian, preparing to directly challenge the inner sect disciples. If they succeeded in their challenge, they would directly enter the inner sect. If they failed, they would lose this opportunity. There were many people participating in the inner sect examination, at least 500 people. Among them, the majority were 5th grade mortal body disaster disciples, but before the inner sect examination, they would first challenge each other. At this time, Several thousand people had already gathered in the outer sect martial field of the Bloodrock sect. They're here, they're here. The inner sect elders are here. There are also several dozen inner sect senior martial brothers. I wonder how many people will choose to directly challenge the inner sect senior martial brothers this time. The entire field was in an uproar. Although the inner sect examination had nothing to do with the majority of people, it was still very interesting to watch. Yi Xian, who was mixed in the crowd, swept a glance over. This time there were more than 50 inner sect disciples that came, and at the same time, there were also close to 10 inner sect elders. The inner sect elders were all experts of true energy disaster. As for Dong Xing, who had accepted Yi Xian as his disciple, he was only at 9th grade mortal body disaster. Mortal body disaster greatly increased one's physique, while true energy disaster greatly increased the strength of one's true energy. As for spirit disaster, it greatly increased the strength of one's spirit. When the strength of one's spirit increased, one's physical body and true energy would also increase. Furthermore, the increase would be even greater than when one was at mortal body disaster or spirit disaster. Therefore, the suppression of the 3 supreme sovereign disasters was stronger. At this time, Yi Xian's gaze swept over and landed on a person, Guoyang. At this time, Guoyang was standing behind a female elder. It seemed that this female elder was Guoyang's mother, as well as Luolua's master, Yang Zhen.